Yeah. Yeah, I don't have that type of money. Yeah, greetings, everyone. It is Dynasty Mirror Search for Uhuru. Thank you so much for joining us. As we always do before we get started, guys, make sure you go to dynastymirror.com. Again, make sure you go to dynastymirror.com. While you're there, buy some merchandise, buy a book. Again, there are 81,000 of you who are subscribed, almost 82,000 of you who are subscribed. So therefore, 82,000 books need to be bought. Also, while you're there, buy some merchandise, buy a shirt. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe as well to the contents. Really appreciate you guys' support. And then become a monthly Patreon, patreon.com, search for Uhuru. Again, become a monthly Patreon. Without further ado, we have Mr. Pan Africanism Strikes back on with us today. And today's topic is, if we succeeded in Liberia, why are we complaining or playing the victim here in America?
It's a great topic. That's a good topic. Hello.
Yeah, I mean, if we had the, I guess, the courage to take our destiny in our own hands, go to Liberia, which for the most part was a dumping ground for free slaves, accomplish what we accomplished. Why are we in 2020 talking about the least of two evils? Let's see here. Got to get rid of the orange man. I'm with her. I mean, why are we playing the victim here in America? Brandon, the floor is yours.
Man, look, okay, so we were talking about this earlier, which is crazy, but I argue a position that is not common. I don't believe that Black people are fearful of failure, right? When you talk about fear in Black people, we've been through so much. We're really I don't think we're really scared of anything. I believe the only thing we are truly afraid of is we have a fear of success. I believe that we are afraid that if we are too successful on our own, that would basically eliminate us from being able to, get those good butter biscuits from Massa that we love so much. And I mean, it's really evident. It's not only in our global position in the world, but even day-to-day life. Every day you see Black people basically refusing to be successful, right? Because they don't want to lose some type of entitlement or handout that they are getting due to their lowly position in society.
Right. Guys, again, hit that like button. In about 27 minutes, we're going to open up the phone line so you guys can call in. Again, in about 27 minutes, we're going to open up the phone line so you guys can call in. I don't get it. So, okay, here we go. What's her name? The actress. God help me. Kerry Washington. I think her name is Brandon.
Right. Kerry Washington.
She said that she does not feel safe going outside to play with her kids because of racism.
Right, but won't remove her kids from the situation, though she has.
Well, that's why I understand. People keep saying I don't feel safe. LeBron James, all these people, I don't feel safe. I don't feel this way. It's dangerous. They're criminalizing our kids. They're doing that. They're doing this. But you give every solution in quotation marks except for removing yourself from the situation. Why is that, Brandon?
It's because, like I said, nobody's trying to get too far away from those butter biscuits. No. Kerry Washington feels afraid to let her kids play outside, right? Not only because she's probably delusional and sick in the mind, but because she's afraid of America and the police, right? Mm. But never does her mind say, well, Kerry, you can move to UK, you could move to Africa, you could move to Jamaica, and the emails will still come in, the phone calls, the phone will still work, and everything like that. Because it's just this mindset that we fear losing what we have. That's what we really fear. We fear that what if we do take measures to make ourselves safer, we might be too successful with that to the point where the white man might leave us alone, right? Like it's like we talked about the other day, how Black people do with politics. We won't leave the Democrats to go talk to the Republicans because we truly fear that the Republicans might actually respond to us and offer us what we've been claiming to want, and then the Democrats won't want us back no more, right? It's like we fear success. I'll give you a prime example. I have family members who are, they are the recipients of Section 8 housing. They get reduced rent for being poor, right? Okay, I have one family member whose daughter actually got a great job working in the administrative office of a college. She told her that she could not take that job because she would be like, if she stayed in the house with her and took that job, they would reduce the amount of the rent of their portion, the portion of the rent that they pay for their little apartment that they live in. She said that she would basically lose her housing if her daughter got a good job and she allowed her to stay with her. And that is a prime example of what I'm talking about. And Dynas, I'm telling you, you opened your eyes wide, but you would be surprised how often Black people are in these type of situations where they literally have to commit to being unsuccessful to maintain government entitlements that they're receiving. They are afraid to step out onto their own to do what they can do, realize their full potential, become successful, because there's no safety net, right? It's like a person, who you offer a bunch of money. Okay, bro, I'll give you $50,000 if you quit your job today, right? And people have been in this position. People will turn down a lump sum $50,000 because they're afraid that if they quit their job, they won't get that check week to week. Even though these same people talk about if they had X amount of dollars, they would start their own business or do this or do that. But you can't start your business because your job is in the way. But you're afraid to lose your job, which doesn't even have the potential to pay you anything near what your own business would pay you. But you refuse to step out on that ledge. You get what I'm saying?
Right. Absolutely. Let's see. Can I ask why you two brothers still reside in America? We are transitioning.
Yeah.
Go. I can't pronounce the name. So okay.
Oh yeah. Akanubin. Okay. But yeah. So like when people say, "Oh, why do you brothers reside in America?" Here's the thing: everything takes a transitional period, right? What we're doing right now is we're setting ourselves up so that when we move to Africa, we're not in a situation where we're begging for money. We don't have money to live the lifestyle which we are accustomed to live. And one of the points that Tiffany brought up yesterday was when she first went to Tanzania, she was like, "Yo, I could just live in this type of situation or this type of setting." And then she got there and she was like, "Yo, it ain't that real for me. Like I can't live in just total squalor." People have become accustomed to the lifestyles that they live, the quality of life that they live. And if you're going to live that quality of life in Africa, where, employment and job opportunities are very low, you're going to have to set some things up for yourself here, right? So you can have money coming in, multiple streams of income. We are not people who've been taught about Africa from the time we was 5 years old, 10 years old. I didn't even start even thinking about going to Africa until I was like 30 years old. It's like, but you have people who've been thinking about this stuff, knowing about this stuff 50 plus years, 40 plus years, and they have no intent to go to Africa. Or people who learned about it last week and are like, "Yo, I got to wait 5 more years till stuff get real bad to even start." Like, you lay a foundation first, then you move, right? Not like what we did with civil rights and stuff, where we pretty much was just making a bunch of demands and just took whatever they want to give us. A smart person first calculates the cost before he builds a building. And that's what we're doing. We're calculating the cost before we make the 100% transition over to Africa.
Guys, make sure you hit that like button again. Make sure. Okay, so we only have 27 likes. Guys, hit that like button. I mean, for God's sake, man, hit that like button. I mean, hit the like button, please. And guys, the book is available. Go to dynastymirror.com or go to amazon.com. Again, go to dynastymirror.com or go to amazon.com. And Brandon.
Hold on real quick. So he says, do other Black Americans not have that same excuse for not going? And you're right. People have a bunch of excuses for not going. And a lot of people can say exactly what I said. here's the difference. Like I said on my channel this morning, the work validates the belief, right? So when Dynas is telling you to buy his book, you know, me, I started business for myself over in Africa. Those businesses are doing okay. They're not to where I need them to be to support a family in Africa, which is different from just being an individual. But see, we're putting in the work daily. We actually are doing our work in the public space where everyone can see. Dynas is not just writing books for his health. He's not, you know what I'm saying, talking to you guys about carrot bars for his health. He's doing that to lay the foundation. So if someone else says it, the only difference between us and them is that once we say it, you can then go on YouTube or talk to us personally and say, well, what are you doing to make that transition happen? And we can give you a list of the things we're doing to make what we our desire, our goal, a reality. That's the difference. A lot of people will say they want to do something or give a excuse, but in reality, they won't even be laying a foundation to reach the goal that they claim they want to have. People can say anything. What are they doing? And we're doing the work.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to shout out your email address real quick, Brandon.
You said what?
Shout out your email address real quick.
My email address for that is ourafricaplan@gmail.com. Ourafricaplan@gmail.com if you want to know anything about that.
Yeah. So go ahead and reach out to Brandon via the email. Okay, so now once again, Brandon, people are still crying over the loss of Ginsburg. Was it Ginsburg? Ruth? Like black people, like you would have thought this is MLK or Malcolm X.
Hey, it's whoever the TV tells them to cry for at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you just learn so much. We're in the age of information, and information can be a good thing or a bad thing. You know, when you have a mindset like many of our people where you just kind of do whatever, you know, the TV tells you, too much information can be a bad thing. You know, there's a quote by a wise man. He said, information is expensive, but it pays for itself. See, information is expensive, and not just in a monetary way. Information can cost you valuable time, cost you your peace of mind, you know, cost you your ability to operate and function normally. You know, it's expensive. It always has a cost. But if you use it correctly, it will pay for itself. I'm ready to mourn somebody who was actually making a difference. We didn't mourn Nipsey Hussle the way we mourned this white lady, even though Nipsey Hussle was doing everything we claim to want to do and everything we've said that the rappers and whatnot need to do. So, you know, we got the information, and unless we use that information for our own personal gain, we're screwed. So I just wish, you know, we would just shut off the TVs. We just got to take a time to not even worry about nobody else, not to sound callous, but we just can't worry about anybody else, and we have to focus on us. This person died. People die every day, B. That's what they say when somebody gets killed in your neighborhood. But all of a sudden, this lady died, and it's a big old, you know, rigmarole.
You know what? I got it. That's a show topic. Why are we mourning Ginsburg more than Nipsey Hussle? I mean, that's a show topic. Let me write that down. Got hit that like button. We have 125 people watching.
And I hope everybody got their notebook, because I'm going to keep preaching that. Look, my notebook, my pen. You say something interesting or something that makes me think, I'm going to write it down. So in those comments, I want to hear I want to see some enlightened comments. Not no emotional, why is Brandon hurting my feelings today? Give me some comments that can make me think, and then we could address what you guys want to know about.
Now, Brandon, if Donald Trump wins, because I mean, so we're already he's gonna, I guess, choose another Supreme Court justice, right? To fill the spot of Ruth Ginsburg. On top of that, if he wins this election, how do you think black people are gonna react?
They're gonna react like they always do. We pay attention to the negativity and the drama. The most black people couldn't even name 3 people who sit on the Supreme Court right now, other than, you know, the black guy or whatever. And so what I think, so how they are going to react, they'll fake care if there's some type of drama or something put on the news in front of their face, but ultimately they won't care, just like they didn't care when, you know, Kavanaugh got in. White people had to make us care about that. They come to us and say, did you know? It's like Joseph Kony 2012. It's just like Darfur. Remember those movements? Black people didn't know what the hell was going on in Darfur until white people told us and started wearing T-shirts. Did you know that in Darfur they're doing it? And then Negro decided to go on and care about it. Other than that, we're totally disconnected from America politically, mentally, and all that stuff, which should really make the transition out of America easier for us. But if we keep on trying to allowing them to bog us down with their problems, we'll never be able to do that. I mean, of course, I'm voted for Trump, but guess what? I'm gonna vote for Trump, and I'm not even gonna think about it no more. Now, when it starts affecting my personal economy, then I'm gonna say, what the hell's going on, But other than that, no. There's only 3 things Black people should be worried about in America right now.
Go ahead.
Mass exodus from America, building.
That's another show. Keep going.
Transitioning to Africa. How are we going to do that? Right. The second thing is, I will say that the reparations check is something that's it's important. It's important. How are we going to secure some get back for all these years of hard work? And the third one is, how do we secure our present economy as a people so that we will have the financial resources and mobility to execute our agenda and reach the goals that we have established for ourselves. Those are your only 3 concerns in America, not the environment, not Mexicans getting citizenship, not Joe Biden not knowing where he is, having dementia, not how Donald Trump treats his wife, not what Donald Trump said on TV about whoever. If we learn to mind our own damn business, we will make a lot of progress. But we're too busy minding everybody else's business, and that's why we're standing in the same spot. But that goes along with the fear of success, because we feel like if we do mind our business, we might be too successful, and then we won't be able to get, the white man's butter biscuits.
Let's see here. Shout out to Rob Green for the super chat. How can we end our pause gentrification of Little Haiti in Miami? Any suggestions?
Pause.
Stop gentrification in Little Haiti in Miami.
I hope it doesn't pause. I hope they gentrify the whole Little Haiti, because if those Haitians put the same type of effort they put into Haiti that they put into creating Little Haiti in America, Haiti would be a different place. I got a lot of friends who are Haitians. I get money with Haitians daily. You know what I'm saying? But why, when I go to Florida and I go down to Pompano, and we go hang out, dudes is pulling up in freaking Maseratis and stuff. And then, they got family members in Haiti who ain't even got enough to eat, and I tell them the same thing. And these dudes are serious. They're serious business. But I tell them the same thing, because when you know the reality, you're going to speak the reality no matter where you are. I don't care about Little Haiti. I don't care about Little Africa. Don't care about Chinatown. We got to build a strong foundation where we are first, and then we can share our culture with the world. Black people, we giving our damn culture away on every continent in America other than Africa.
Right.
And then we wonder why we're messed up. We don't want to be successful. We fear success. We fear success because when you have success, success has to come with sustainability. And we fear that we won't be able to sustain the success that we have. And that speaks to your question, Dinus. Liberia was a success, but then it wasn't sustained so well for a long time. And so Black people have a fear of success. They've programmed us like that. When you talk about a Black person who got millions of dollars, you say you watch VH1 Behind the Music, Dinus, you pretty much know in the beginning it's gonna be awesome. This person catapulted to stardom, and then by the end they're gonna be telling you how they
smoking crack, yeah.
They smoke crack, And so we fear success because when you're Black, when you're African in America, your success is always results in something negative, or so they say. They gotta highlight that. They're gonna talk to you more about who's a crackhead? There's so many of them, damn it. They're gonna talk to you about Milli Vanilli,
right?
You know what I'm saying? More than they gonna talk to you about Tom Joyner or Jay-Z or anybody else, because they want you to know that, Negro, if you get successful, it's only a matter of time before it all falls apart. So the Black person in America has learned to totally reject the idea of success in exchange for sustainability of less than of something that really does not have the ability to, move them up the financial ladder. We just rather be okay at the bottom. And we got to get off the bottom because, you know, the bottom is crowded. You know, we got to aim for the top because the bottom is crowded. So,
right.
you know, we don't want to be on the top. We want to stay at the bottom. It's easier to maintain.
Yeah, shout out to Jamil Shabazz. People that downplay Liberia's success only focus on the beginning and not its previous apex. Liberia saw a lot of prosperity at one time. The diaspora moving back could restore it. So thank you for that comment, brother. Hit that like button. Also, if you want to call in, the lines are open. Uhuru at searchforuhuru.com. Again, Uhuru at searchforuhuru.com. Call in, ask your question. We got answers. Also, make sure you go to dynastymir.com. Make sure you go to dynastymir.com. Buy your son The Son Loves Me children's book. This was my first children's book, y'all. Buy the book. Shout out to Brandon for the support. He bought all the children's books.
You got one more I gotta get because you just released.
Yeah, it's Libation Time. That's the newest one.
I'll tell you, Dynasty, this morning on my channel, I did a video called "If There Is No Risk, There Is No Reward."
Right.
We are risk adverse. We don't like to take risk. Black people in America only take risk when it's something that has no benefit. Like, we won't risk putting our money into a business idea or invest our money in an up and coming business, but we will risk our lives being gangbangers. You know what I'm saying? We'll risk our health.
Brand, you know what's funny? I was actually thinking to myself the other day. Gangbanging, selling dope is the worst career decisions you could ever make in life.
And we do it without even blinking. Let me tell you this, Diamonds. Black people. Somebody asked me why black people don't fight the police back. Somebody said, "Oh, because they scared." Black people are not scared of the police or guns. When I was young, I was in a gang, right, Diamonds? Let me tell you this.
What gang?
I'm not going to advertise gangs on here, but I'm from Long Beach, so
okay.
I was from that gang, same gang Snoop Dogg from.
Okay,
anyway, so look, we were like 19, 18, 19, 20 years old. We would go to a party, right? One time we was in Carson. This girl was like, "Come to my birthday party in Carson." One of our friends was like, "Man, I've been to that spot where she having her party. It's nothing but bloods." And you know, we was crazy.
Was it a house party or was it?
No, it was a party at like a bar.
What's the name of the bar in Carson? Because
I don't even remember, but it's. I think it got shut down because it got shot up too many times.
Mm-hmm.
But look, so it was. They told us this place is dangerous. There's all kinds of rival gang members, gangs that you don't even know about coming here. You know, all the time on Saturday night. Do you think we were afraid to go to that party, even though we know people have guns? They were hostile to us because we were Crips and there was a lot of Bloods and stuff in Carson. No, we went there anyway. So when somebody tries to tell me that a black person is afraid of a gun and a badge, okay, I know that that's a lie, because how many of us go through neighborhoods every day that get shot up? We live in places that are violent as hell. You live in Watts, talk about I'm afraid of a gun. Oh, right. So that's why I don't whoop the police ass for killing my daughter or my son or whatever. We're not afraid of anything. The only thing we fear is success, because if we are too successful, we are afraid that we will not be able to sustain it, because that is the way we have been programmed, Dinus. And the more you analyze the situation, the more true it becomes. Even I struggled with it at first, and then I realized it was true. We're telling our children, don't be successful, because if you're too successful, it's all going to come crumbling down. Just like we teach our kids, oh yeah, don't love money, don't chase money and stuff like that. But why shouldn't they chase the thing that you don't got enough of, right? Because it's all rooted in our programming. If we go for the things that other races get and have in this world, we're somehow going to mess it all up, and then we're going to end up smoking crack in the alley behind our grandma's house. You know what I'm saying? But right. This is the programming.
I think Lachey Divine is upset that we made the statement that we're playing the victim here in America.
No, black people don't want success, because then it removes the victim card from them, right? Mm-hmm. If we go out on our own and do something and have success, we can't keep asking white people for stuff. We can't keep blaming white people for our situation. That's the difference. And Lachey, if you tell me, right, that we're in a bad situation, I tell you, go look at the Japanese person, go look at the Jew, right? They hit hard times too. And they managed to come back from that, and now they're controlling the globe. Now you could say, well, they got reparations, but I highly doubt that little bit of money that America gave them for the Holocaust or whatever basically resulted in these billions and billions and billions of dollars that these people have now. The Japanese, they're masters of the tech industry. That didn't all come from, Hiroshima, the bomb being dropped on them. We don't want to give up that victim mentality. We don't want to give up that SSI check. We gonna play absolutely crazy. Donnie, you remember back in the day, people would pretend to be crazy to get an SSI check?
Right.
That's what black people do in real life. They pretend to be helpless and unable to think so they could keep getting that government assistance, that white man's assistance. And if anybody said they're lying, because everybody on here got a relative that refuses to be successful because they are comfortable receiving government benefits and don't want to lose them. I'm telling you, my grandma used to lie and say that we had asthma so we could get an SSI check back when the government would give you a check for having asthma. I ain't never had asthma a damn day in my life. My grandma used to lie to get that asthma check. And you want me to tell you what's funny? When the government said we no longer giving people SSI checks for having asthma, suddenly the asthma was cured up. The Great Spirit released something in the dust cloud.
A white Jesus.
Right, we playing football and everything.
All right, guys, hit that like button again. Hit that like button. We have over 200 people watching. So
what up, DeMarco? DeMarco, we supposed to meet in Inglewood. What happened, bro?
Yeah, guys. So make sure you hit that like button again. Hit that like button. I sent the link out to a couple of people. So I am waiting for you guys to call in. Again, I am waiting for you guys to call in. Click that link, come in and ask your question, make your statement. Let's continue the conversation, you guys. Yeah, Brandon, we're in interesting times.
Dinus, let me tell you something. Let me just say this on a positive note as we meet the half hour mark. The thing I'm trying to say to everybody is this. I'm not just trying to highlight a bunch of negative stuff about black people. What I'm telling our people who are on here today is this. You cannot wait for the other half of our people to get it. Nobody bites the hand that feeds them unless they want freedom, right? If you get a wolf, you could give him 100 steaks. If you leave that gate open, he is gone to never be seen again. Now, a dog is different. You give him a bunch of steaks, he gonna stay right where the steaks is at for the rest of his life. Are you a wolf or a dog? Do you want to truly be free, or do you want to just be as free as that leash that you own? You only want the freedom that leash that you own allows. We can't wait for them to get it. A wolf ain't gonna wait in the yard for the dog to understand that it's better in the forest, right? We just got to get to Africa, and when they see how we're benefiting, hopefully they'll come around and jump on that bandwagon.
Paul, go ahead.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
All right. I said in the chat, I know it was a headline, but I don't want to take you guys off topic. But I've been listening to you for a while, and I haven't seen this like addressed in detail. I would say it's been addressed like passingly. Liberia. I'll ask a question. I'm from West Africa. Liberia, how was it a success?
It was a success. I mean, so you have to understand, Liberia was the first black republic in Africa, number one. Number two, if you look at the history, all right, free black slaves who were determined to control their own destiny came to Liberia, which is nothing more than a dumping ground for black American free slaves. The adversity they faced once they arrived to Liberia, what they were able to build, okay, why they were there. I mean, if Liberia was so bad, why didn't you hear Kwame Nkrumah, the likes of Jomo Kenyatta, and all the, I would say, Pan-African leaders talking bad about Liberia? Liberia set the standard of how a Pan-African nation should be ran, how a black republic should be ran. I mean, what West African country are you from?
Sierra Leone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
right
Liberia
next to Liberia, and I have family from Liberia too, and that's what happens with these African countries. If they share a border, you have people that descend from both, and I'm speaking from experience. So I'll correct one thing you said. You said it was established by black returnees. Let me put it that way.
Right.
There were people there, and it's the same with Sierra Leone, where I'm from.
Okay.
The people who were freed and came back met people there, and
Right.
Freetown was established in many ways because the people who were there sold land to the British, who brought back the people who repatriated to the land.
Right. Right. And
So
then in Liberia, the land was okay. So in Liberia, there were treaties in place. Land was sold to
right,
the returnees,
right.
and then a lot of these chiefs reneged on the deals that they made. So what did you expect for the how the Black Americans were going to how they were going to respond?
And the same happens, you see, because there's always, as they say, the hand behind the scene, and history repeats itself. So with this new advent of movement, especially blacks in America going back to Africa, I for one, I personally was affected by that war. One of the reasons why my family is in different continents, different countries. It's been over 20 years now, and it's still the same. People died, and people were injured. My house was almost burnt down, and this was rebels coming directly from Liberia. Sierra Leone had its problems, but that's
Right,
what
right.
brought the war to Sierra Leone.
But the thing is, the war. All right, I guess we're talking about the first civil war, correct, in Liberia.
I consider it
Not the
one.
coup, not the first coup. But anyways, like what did? Okay, so my question is, what did the returnees, the Black Americans return? What did they have to do with any of the civil wars?
The Civil War, the last one, which really started with Samuel Doe when he took
Right.
over. Okay,
Hmm.
prior to that, what caused that? It was because 5% of the returnees were in control of 95% of the people. There's no way that can happen without animosity. And it's human to me. It's not necessarily say, oh, it's African Americans coming back to dominate and to take over and maltreat the people they met there. You could see it that way, but to me, I see it
But
as
again, we're
human.
not. We're see. I
Let me
think.
make a quick point on that.
Go ahead, go
But
ahead.
to me, I'll see that as human nature. They say absolute power corrupts, and the people who went back, they were backed by America. That
No, they
was
weren't. No, they were not backed by
absolutely.
America.
Why do
That
you
place
think
was
they
a
named it?
dumping
Why
ground.
do you think they named it Monrovia after Monroe? Why do
That
you
does
think?
that doesn't mean they were backed by America. Again, it was a dumping ground.
It was, but they were backed by America,
Backtown,
basically.
backtown.
Back because they are the ones that paid. They're the ones that helped establish them, and they
Dude,
made
okay,
business pacts
Paul,
with them. Even
Paul.
Firestone, the companies, the rubber, all that, they were
Paul,
importing all that to America. Yeah, go ahead.
Paul. Okay, so number one, the ACS. All right, for many years that they were, I guess, overseeing Liberia. There were years they didn't have any money in the budget to even send to Liberia. So the ACS was nothing more than a rinky-dink nonprofit organization that barely had funding. So that's number one. So when you say backed by America, like what do you mean? Like people are trying to act like Liberia was backed by America the same way Israel was backed by America, and that's just not true.
No, no, it's not in that context as far as in Israel, but America actually held a hand, and they were just like in Sierra Leone, where I'm from. It's the same thing. The British actually were involved in that, in establishing the people back, because they just wanted a place to dump these people.
Right, right. So I would say this: Britain was definitely more involved in Sierra Leone than America was in Liberia. I mean,
Um,
unless you could prove otherwise, because again,
yes,
like
I mean,
America
as
doesn't consider Liberia a colony. Like nowhere in American history books does America consider Liberia
I
a
mean,
colony.
time changes, and enemies become friends, friends become enemies. But initially, when they went there, why do you think the Liberian flag is just like the American flag with the one
That
star?
doesn't
Monrovia.
again,
The,
that
and the,
doesn't mean anything. Again, that doesn't mean any. I mean, let's see here. Why is there Johnny's New York Pizza in L.A. and not not New
I,
York?
I,
It's just
I, I, I don't want it to be semantics because it's
it is,
deeper.
but it is semantics. That's my word.
No, that
It's
no
semantics.
no
It's
no
semantics. It's
that
semantics.
no No, that you brought up, but it being a semantic doesn't mean it cancels out what I'm saying, the validity of what I'm saying. My
semantic.
point I'm making is that, and I'm not saying this out of animosity. Again, I'm coming from a place of experience, and I'm coming from a place of this affected me directly. I'm all cool with that. I'm all cool with Black people going back. It's your heritage, yeah, but for it to set up in a way where we're heading towards this the issues that may come up when you have to, because take it how you may, you guys have been away from Africa for a long time. You've developed different cultures.
I know where you're going with this. I'm gonna cut you off. I'm gonna say this right here. Africans who left Africa, I would say like the 60s, 70s, 80s, to come get education in the West, they will be the biggest threat than African Americans who are returning. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Why?
Brainwashed Africans who left Africa to come get educated in America, in Europe, they will be the biggest threat to African sovereignty than Black Americans who return. I can tell you that right now.
Why?
Because the mindset of Black Americans who are coming to Africa is it's more, they want to integrate into African society.
Paul, where do you live?
Paul, where do you live?
I'm in Atlanta. Paul? I'm in Atlanta.
Yeah,
okay. So he knows exactly what you're talking about. I want to ask you a question, Paul. What what is the reason, right? What success has, or anything, what have any of these countries brought to the world, right? Czechoslovakia, Kazakhstan, France, Canada, Belgium, or Taiwan. Name me what these countries have done on a global scale that has benefited the planet.
That's a very, very question. You need to give me more, or just go straight to the point.
Czechoslovakia, Kazakhstan, France, Canada, Belgium.
Some of them I can say it's inconsequential what they've done, but France, maybe you'll say industry and as far as research, science for
the world. Okay, look. So what I'm saying is this: the reason why those countries have such a strong sense of nationalism and they love where they're from is just because it's theirs. Liberia is a success just because it's ours. We don't have to outline all these fluffy success feel-good stories about it. It's Black people are there. Black people control it. We own it, and Black people are welcome to come there. So that's what makes it a success, right? If you understand that the things that you talk about that happen in Liberia happen in every single country on the planet, right? You'll realize that you're just talking about things that are really just the natural evolution of every civilization on the planet, right? There's a famous guy, his name is Wayne Dyer. He says, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. See, it's not that Liberia is not a success. It's really that the way you're looking at Liberia is through a lens that's not looking at the silver lining, the successes and the major accomplishments. You're looking at things with a critical lens because the way things are don't fit exactly the way you want it to be, right?
Okay, now, I get what you're saying. Okay, I get what you're saying, and I disagree with a couple. Okay, go ahead.
If I can interject real quick though, when we always bring up the whole Liberia conversation, I don't understand why Liberians get blamed for Samuel Doe's tribalism in FUP. That's what I don't understand. So Samuel Doe takes over. He puts in all his tribal cronies. And then he starts committing acts of genocide against the other tribes of Liberia, and Liberia has not been the same. It's been worse off. So I don't understand how Samuel Doe's F-up and bad judgment, or whoever paid him, how Liberians are blamed for that. Because I mean,
okay, let me answer that. You said that. Valid point. The fact of the matter is, Samuel Doe was a response to what American Liberians had done in Liberia for 160 years. Samuel Doe was not perfect I mean, he was uneducated, and it was a coup plot. If there was somebody more capable, say that again.
What does education have to do with anything?
No, I mean, education helps you think
No,
logically. It helps you think.
Educated people in Africa that are poor as hell. Education don't mean nothing. Stick to the point. What? Why are we blamed?
No. You missed my point. You wouldn't put any fool. It's a bad thing when fools are president, and that's
you
what I'm getting.
You guys do that all the time. That's the part for the course.
You said say what?
You guys put fools in presidency every day.
No, we don't. We're still under siege. But
Paul, how do you feel about? Let me watch my land. How do you feel about George Weah?
He's just one of them. He's just another fool. He's not capable to be I mean, he was a footballer. He's not capable to be a president. And are you saying you all do that? No, I think there are despots, and the West still has a hand in the politics of Africa. And they still kill and exterminate the good leaders that we have that come up. So Paul, that's our war, and we're fighting it.
Can I tell you something, Paul? Your mind is still missing the point, because you still believe that a black man is not qualified to lead unless he has a white man's education.
You're extrapolating that.
Wait a minute. I asked a woman from Kenya the other day, who's the president of Kenya? She said Uhuru Kenyatta. I said, where did Uhuru Kenyatta go to college? She couldn't even tell me. Most Africans, whether they're leaders or educated or not, know nothing about the people who rule their countries. So when you talk about is education, that really doesn't matter. What matters is you try to discredit Doe. You're saying Doe did what he did because
you're going down a rabbit hole, and it's not necessary, because you mischaracterizing what I'm saying, and that's not even what I'm saying.
Answer the question. I just don't understand. Whenever we bring up Liberia, when it's Samuel Doe is the reason why Liberia is suffering. Why do we still deflect to America?
That's what you say, and I was answering that before he took me on a rabbit chase. But the point is, as I said, Samuel Doe is a response to the bad leadership, and he turned around and was doing exactly what American Liberians did for 160 years. You fail to add that the fact that they were hiring themselves. The presidents, the leaders, they all had their families within the cabinet. It was a good old boy system.
Right.
And yes, many of them came and were more equipped than the locals that they met there. But why will you say in the name of blackness, okay, we're all black people, we're all one together, kumbaya and all that. All good. Well, why would you lord it over the people? And you are 5% of that. No, let me finish. 5% of that population. Let me finish.
Right now.
Let me finish.
Old stuff when there's Indians, left, and everything else doing that right now.
What are you saying? Okay. I didn't finish. Let me hear your question.
I'm asking you, why are you focused on the past right now when you got a present day where there are other races doing that exact thing to you?
You should be smarter than that. I mean, you're talking like you're smart man.
Paul, here's a question for you. If the American Liberians were so bad, right? Why are Liberians, indigenous Liberians, integrating or relocating or immigrating to the country that created the American Liberian? That's what I don't understand.
Diners, that is a very softball question.
That's not a softball question, man.
Okay, let me answer it. Why are the rest of the world flocking to America? Yeah, because America has placed itself in a place where it has taken advantage of the world at large. It has the large military.
We flocking out of America, so go to Liberia, go to Sierra Leone and make a place for me, because I'm about to do my citizenship.
I didn't hear your question. What did you say? I didn't hear your question.
I said go back to Sierra Leone and make a place for me, because I'm about to do my citizenship, and my roots probably going to trace back to your front porch. But
Paul, here's another question, Paul. So why did the number of Liberians immigrating to America, why were Liberians immigrating in mass to America when the American Liberians were ruling?
when they were ruling, they were migrating en masse to America. I
No,
know
they
if
weren't.
that
No, they
happened.
weren't. No, they
No, no,
weren't.
no.
No,
I'm
they
asking
weren't.
you a question. I'm asking you a question. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah. I'm asking why, if the American Liberians were so monstrous, right, and so evil, why weren't Liberians migrating and getting out of Liberia in mass and coming to America when the American Liberians were ruling?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Paul, you understand my question.
No,
Brandon,
no,
you understand
no.
my
I'm
question?
being serious. But if you're saying they were leaving when the American Liberians were
But they
ruling,
weren't. What I'm saying is Liberians were not migrating in mass to America when American Liberians were in power. That's my
when
question. I mean, why weren't they? If American Liberians were so
there
evil,
were no countries, even in Sierra Leone, people were not moving like that. It just picked moving to the States. People, I had uncles way back. They're way older now, and they were going not just to America, but most of them left to get education, to go to Russia, they go to China, and they come back. Many of them came back. But the point is now this new wave of people, including myself, well, some of them it's wars that happened in Africa. This destabilizes family and economic and educational systems. Other than that, it's also the economy. I mean, how many wars have happened in West Africa, especially all throughout, and the West is primarily behind it. We know that. I don't need to list the reasons, resources, and all that. Even Sierra Leone, the wars.
no, but Paul, my question is, if America, you still didn't answer, if American Liberians were so evil, why weren't Liberians claiming refugee status in mass back to America during American rule?
No, because as I said, I answered it because it was not popular.
Oh,
Even in Sierra Leone, it was not popular. It only picked up, especially after the war, 1990. Yeah, that's when it picked up in Liberia and West Africa and all the places, even in Sierra Leone, especially. When there's a war in the country, that's when you see mass exodus of people because it affects the economy. I answered it.
No, but you didn't answer because again, you guys, again, the argument, the statement, African millennial. I'm gonna get to you, sweetheart. The comment is the American Liberians were evil, 5% rule. You know, the non-Americans were marginalized. So if that's the case, why weren't they claiming refugee status and coming to America and
it was not a war. It was not a war. They were not refugees, but they had squabbles. There are many places, even in Africa right now, where you may find there are people marginalized. Even in Nigeria, you should know that there are a lot of people. There are certain people marginalized.
You know how busy, you know how cracking that those Nigerian embassies are as far as Nigerians trying to get the hell out.
No, I'm not talking. No, that's not my point I'm making. I'm saying marginalized people within Nigeria. It's not every one of them that are trying to get out of Nigeria. They stay there and try to sort their problems out. And that was the case with Liberia. Listen, I'm not, again, when I started, I'd say I'm not pointing fingers, but I'm raising a valid point about structuring this, because if you just do this all willy-nilly,
this
end up repeating history.
Valid. This is not valid, bro. Listen, bro, this is the reality. If there's prosperity, everybody's happy. If there's not prosperity, everybody's talking about the leadership is bad. People talk about a place where 5% control the majority. Then they get their bags and they get their family and move to a place where 1% of the population controls the majority, which is America, right? This is the reality, and I'm gonna leave it right here. Have you ever heard of the sobriety prayer? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. My brother, we can't change any of this stuff. So it's pointless on bringing it up. At this point, when you talk about if we do things all willy-nilly, you have zero control over how the Chinese coming into Africa, how the Indian or the Lebanese is coming into Africa.
No, that's a broad statement.
Wait a minute.
That's a broad statement. And you're making a lot of them.
At this point, everybody is going to have to come to Africa and get it how they live, because it's past the point where Africans could facilitate a proper influx of people into Africa. You guys have already allowed other races to come in and take over industries. Now we just got to get there. It can't be all this pointless conversation about, well, if you got to do it this way. No. Go tell the Indian, the Chinese, and the Lebanese how they got to come into Africa, and then get back to us when you guys go do that.
Exactly. In fact, exactly, Brandon. Let me. Sorry to cut you off, Paul. I was in Liberia in December. I was all through downtown Liberia. All that was controlled by Lebanese. So my thing is, like Brandon is saying, why don't you guys have that same energy for Lebanese as far as coming in a proper way?
I'll answer that question.
Our success.
He asked me a question. He asked me a question, right?
Listen,
and you're answering.
Paul, I'm gonna answer because you don't even know how to answer it. Paul, this is the reality. You guys fear diaspora success because you feel like if a diaspora has success, it's a knock against you. Just like the girl told me that wait a minute. Just like the girl told me every African in Africa should own land before diasporans are allowed to come back on a permanent basis into Africa. You said it over and over. I get the point. Look bad.
I get the points. That's what you're saying. And and it's limited to what you know and your perspective.
Well, I'm talking.
You're entitled to it, but it's not right. There are many Africans who I know who will not have a problem with that. And you say envious of your success. That's
as long as you guys as people like you keep jumping on trying to say, well, what about the Americans in Liberia, bro?
And listen, I was expecting a more high level conversation here because this is like basic.
In the white man's conversation and a bunch of buck dancing and sympathizing, and
you keep cutting me off. No, I thought we were gonna have a logical. You keep talking over me.
Okay, Paul, hold on, Brandon. Paul, it's hard to have a logical conversation because, again, I am tired of American Liberians being blamed for what Samuel Doe did. That's the problem.
And my point, and let me answer the question. He spoke to me, right, Brandon? And my point is, I held Samuel Doe accountable. Why don't you people want to hold the American Liberians accountable too?
Because they're dead.
Down the road, right?
Dead. They're not here anymore.
And Samuel Doe is dead too.
So why are you still talking about it?
And my point is, you're supposed to be a smart man. My point is, if you don't learn from your history, you repeat it, and others who don't have any good intentions for you can come between and wedge and use that against you. That's the point.
Bro, listen.
And besides that, a lot of people died.
Bro,
Paul, you keep bringing up a lot of people. Hold on, Brandon. You keep bringing up a lot of people died. Was it the American Liberians that were behind the guns?
Okay, I'll tell you who the war leaders were. Prince Johnson, American Liberian. Charles Taylor,
Prince Johnson
American Liberian.
Prince Johnson is mixed.
He's got American Liberian there. Charles Taylor, American Liberian.
Mixed two.
Many of them.
Two mixed. You brought up two mixed Liberian.
There's gonna be mixed if you've been in the country for so long.
Which gets to my next point. There was never really a true American Liberian because they started to integrate and mix with the different tribes.
No, they did.
You had the Nasaquais. You have, in fact,
they were the same, and they all had English last names.
Okay.
Your name is
Paul.
Listen, they call them. Listen, it's because I in my earlier stage, I changed to Christianity when I was younger.
Okay,
your real name is not Paul.
Your name is Paul. You talking about
what's your real name, Paul?
Listen. I'm talking about last names.
I'm talking about your first name.
No, I'm talking about
Paul
last
Mills?
names. You got Brandon. I'm talking about last names. Mills is not my last name.
So, but that's what you look, bro. Unless you're about to tell us who we need to talk to in Sierra Leone so we can be connected on a deeper level than YouTube. What is the point of this conversation? We talking about progressive stuff,
we
not just whole history lessons.
We're raising valid points, and we can see logical logical arguments.
We might want to start talking about Martin Luther King and stuff because stop dwelling in the past, bro. Bury the dead and move into the future.
You
alive, bro. You can make something happen.
You can't just jump into the future without
Man,
knowing.
I ain't worried about the past of Liberia, bro. Unless you gonna tell me how I'm gonna get it cracking in Sierra Leone.
Okay.
Right now with your help.
The reason why Africa and in general Black people are in the position we are is because we haven't learned. And where do you learn? You learn from history, and you don't repeat it.
No, because we have too many intellectuals. Look, Japan got blew up by America, right? Every Japanese person know they got blew up by America. How does constantly talking about it make them successful, bro?
Yeah, never.
Wait, let me finish. Do you think when they go into the boardroom of Nintendo, they start talking about Hiroshima? No, bro.
Listen, I've listened to you a couple of times, I'm amazed. I've listened to you a couple of times before, and I'm amazed at the argument you're making. It's so basic. I'm really surprised.
Really? I don't need that. Bro, I'm not an intellectual like you. You think you're so smart that you're going to figure all this out. I'm telling you the basic thing. You gotta let it go and move forward, Paul.
You're casting aspersions, and I'm settling on the point that you need to understand how you got to where you are before you can move forward.
Well, we already know, bro. So what's the plan, dog?
And it brings me to my point that I was saying initially, that it needs to be structured. And we need to watch out for things like these that will come up and be divisive. And it's already started.
What's your plan?
No, Paul, again. No, Brent, hold on one second, Brent. I'm sorry, Paul, once again. Africans who left Africa to get educated in the West are going to be the biggest threat and the biggest issue and a bigger issue than African Americans who return.
I don't think so.
Listen,
there are many. Listen, there's Kwame Nkrumah. There are many of them that went back and still kept their head, and I'm one of them. You know, I came here and in my teens, and I went to college here. So my point, and I know where I'm going, and I want to take this back, but I see a problem. There's a schism there, and if we're not careful, it can blow up in our faces, you know, and remove us from the target that we're trying to get to.
Okay, Paul, I got my pen and my paper, and I got bullet points. Give me Paul's plan for proper repatriation to West Africa.
I think there needs to be an organization here in the diaspora that will help people transition there. It needs to be more structured, wherein you have a curriculum, step-by-step approach on how to integrate, and that's the key. How to integrate, how to spread responsibility and entitlement when people get to the land, because that is the issue. The economics and the cultural integration.
So Paul, it sounds like you got a lot of work to do, brother.
I mean, okay, Paul, that's the problem. Paul, okay, I'll give you a prime example, Paul. When I went to Africa, right? Okay, when I go to Africa, I spend the majority of my time in the rural areas, and studying and documenting, especially specifically the traditional religions. You know who gives me the most pushback?
I've heard you say that. It's Africans.
Exactly. So I mean, so when you say integrate into what?
Integrated to the religion is different from the culture. Brandon, please. Integrate into the culture. The culture is different from the religion.
Well, can I get a word in here?
Hold on, Lou. How can you separate your indigenous religion from the culture? That makes no sense.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
There are things you have to do that don't have to deal with how you worship and how you relate to the spiritual. There are many aspects of the culture. So
okay, Paul, listen, if you go to Yoruba land and you tell a Yoruba person that the religion Ifa is not is separate from Yoruba culture, they will look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah, I understand that. And there are different pockets. Nigeria is very strong when it comes to culture, but also there's a dichotomy in the same Nigeria. It's one of the leading Christian nations in Africa. So my point, I want to separate those. I may have Paul as my first name, but I'm very open when it comes to spirituality. But that's not the case for every African. Listen, we were colonized, okay? And
Okay, Paul.
Yeah.
I have to be. I guess I have to be kind of direct here. First of all, let's actually go back to Liberia, and let's actually really discuss it. Now, I want to start off by saying that I don't particularly have a dog in this fight. Okay, but we also have to be, fairly honest about what actually happened on both sides. Now, when the American Liberians showed up to Liberia, okay, whenever one group of people is more advanced than another group of people, okay, that advanced and better are two different things. I said advanced, not better.
Right.
When one group of people is more advanced than another group of people, there are certain inevitabilities. You understand what I'm saying?
I'm following.
Now, what you have to understand is the American Liberians, they showed up, they created a stable democracy that lasted for 160 years. They brought economic prosperity, built solid infrastructure, they built the University of Liberia, which is the oldest learning institution in West Africa today. They had a solid system of governance, and they had a stable country.
That's why I'll correct you on that. It's early on. It's early on. Oldest university. Go ahead.
Okay, but here, and of course, was that established by indigenous people?
Nope.
Okay, so be quiet. So let's get back to what we were talking about. The indigenous people, when the Americans showed up, were, not advanced. Now, that's not bad, but that is the reality, right? So you have a more advanced civilization or an advanced group of people, they show up, and it is almost natural that the more advanced people are going to rule over the less advanced people. Now, here's what happened. Okay, typically in that relationship, both sides are typically happy with that arrangement.
No, not necessarily. I was going to let you finish, but
Paul,
there are a couple of disagreements, and this one caps it.
Paul, let me talk, because if I'm not mistaken, if the indigenous people were as disgruntled as you might say, please keep in mind William Tolbert, when he was elected in 1971. Okay, he stayed in office from 71 to 1980. He got reelected. During his time when he was elected, he had created many liberal reforms that was trying to integrate indigenous people into what you would have called civil society at that time. Okay, listen. Paul, let's get real. What people like yourself are afraid of is the inevitability of the more advanced diasporans showing up and dominating and ruling you, as the more advanced American Liberians showed up and dominated and ruled you before.
No, that's not my point. No, you keep going. No, let me interject. Allow me to interject. That's one premise. Because just hear me out. That is not my premise that I called initially.
But it is your fear.
I was all good. No, it's not. No, don't tell me how I feel or not.
It's what you said.
No. My point was, I said I'm all fine with going back, reclaiming your heritage and all that. But I said it needs to be structured.
Structured in what way? When you say structured, what do you mean? Do we allow nature to take its course? Because if we allow nature to take its course, what's going to happen is that the diasporans are going to take over Africa.
That's why I added the word nilly-willy, because you have to structure it. If you don't structure things...
So when you say structure, I need you to define that term.
Let me finish. If you don't structure it, you leave it to chance and to nature. And sometimes nature doesn't give the correct output. We are higher beings.
Brandon, give me a second.
We're higher beings. We're not animals. We need to think and structure things. Animals live out, and anything can happen.
Paul, you said that, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I need you to tell me what that means. So when you say structure it, what does that mean? Give me an example.
The things that I was listening to Brandon just now. But
Paul, you gave like several disclaimers. Okay, the spirituality part, the religion part.
No, that's not what I was saying. No, that's.
Paul, I want you to give me what you mean. So, for example, if the diasporans showed up, would you feel like it would be fine to give the diasporans freedom to do business as they see, to open businesses, run businesses without any interference from the government, and just simply able to do enterprise? Do you believe that there should be limitations on the level of enterprise that diasporans have? How much
absolutely not.
Diasporans be allowed to have?
Absolutely not. They
Okay,
should come and do that. But I'm saying, when it comes to control, governments, that I'm going beyond that. I'm not talking about business. The Lebanese and the Chinese get there and they do business. So
I see. Now we're getting to the crux. So your concern is diasporans taking over government.
They control.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily taking over government, because I don't think a 5% should at any time rule the majority.
What if the 5%? What if those 5%? Wait, Paul. Before you say, I'm going to let you finish. But let me say this: what if that 5% are the only people who are actually fit to rule? Because here's what I'm going to say.
I'll agree with that.
Let me just say this. Let me say this, and then it's all yours. Because since the indigenous have taken over Liberia, how's Liberia doing? Since the indigenous have taken over Sierra Leone, how's Sierra Leone doing? So based off of results, it would appear that the Americans were right the whole time, that you people were not competent to run your own country.
No,
because you can't run your own.
Absolutely not. Listen, I'll say this to you. No, you keep going on. You've interjected, and I'll let you. But my point is, the current state of Africa. Do you know how many leaders have been killed in Africa and instigated by the West, planned coups by the West? So we're fighting on many fronts.
Doesn't matter.
No, have you ever considered?
Let me finish. Capable indigenous leaders, capable, very capable. They're silent or they're killed by the West. So my point is, for you to say, I mean, you can say that of the Black community here. There are many. There's a lot of dice.
The Black community is led by women who are not fit to rule them. That's pretty clear. Liberia was led by Black men, not Black women, Black men.
And my point is, the way they did it, I do agree. Paul Ware, Samuel Doe, I did confirm that these people are not fit to lead. But the point, my point is,
please remember that the guy Paul Ware that you just described was elected. You voted for him.
Yeah, and Charles Taylor. Well, that's not me. That's not me. And Charles Taylor.
But what I'm saying is the indigenous populace.
And Charles Taylor, who was American Liberian, was voted in too, right? And what did he do? And Charles Taylor, who was American Liberian, was voted in too, right? So it tells you a lot of what's going on there.
Charles Taylor was not fully
Charles Taylor. Okay.
My point is, we should, and that was not. I think it was a knee-jerk reaction and a defensiveness by especially Brandon. My point is here is not to point fingers at American Liberians or whatnot. Go or Black Americans going back. Go back, claim your heritage and all that. But my point is, should be structured and well planned.
Again, let's talk about the structuring part. You've said that a lot. You don't have to repeat that. I want to dive into that part.
I started doing that before.
Okay. How about this?
You took me somewhere else.
How much governmental power should the diasporans be allowed to have in your structure? If you were in charge of structuring, how much power should the diasporan blacks be allowed to have? How much power?
I think significant. Can I just answer that?
No, let me just correct one thing. Charles Taylor was not a full American Liberian, so I don't know where we're getting
that his last name.
It doesn't matter what his last name was. He wasn't. Your name is Paul.
And there's a lot. And there's a lot of
Paul Mills.
Okay, can we stay focused? I want to get into the structuring part.
Go ahead.
So,
okay, yes.
So let's talk about it. How much power should they be allowed to have?
I think a significant power, and it should not be based on number. I think it should be based on.
So should it be based on competence? Should it be?
Yes.
Lou,
I didn't hear your question.
Lou, this guy is in Atlanta talking on a computer. He don't control nothing. Why we having this?
Well, no, because you have to understand, this guy's actually very important. And he's the second guy who's done this from the same area. And there's a reason I'm getting to something. I want to know again, Paul, should the most competent, so like, let's say the diasporans, they show up, and they come into society, should it be a situation where if they're the most competent, they rule? Should there be limits on how much of them should be able to rule? How does power work?
Yes, because it should be limited. I think there should be a lot of power, because the diasporans, and I'm including somebody like myself. Yes, I'm somewhat different because I was born on the continent and I came here. But people like me who want to go back, we should. I mean, if I go back now, and I'm answering your question, I go back now to Sierra Leone where I was born, I will almost be treated, in essence, like a Black American going back, because I haven't been there for a while. I have no power, less connections, and all that. They have a system there. But I think people like us going back should be able to have significant rule, but not to the point where we're upsetting the balance of power. Because
Paul, wait, Paul, this is important. And so what you're saying, but hold up then. That means you're saying that the most competent shouldn't rule. We should have a situation where even if you're more competent to rule, you should be limited, because we need to make sure that the current balance of power stays intact.
Okay, how would you feel if somebody, say you are in the place of Africans there, and somebody comes into your house and wants to take over because they're more competent and more qualified than you?
No, what if wait, you misrepresented the question, because it would be more like, what if I'm in a house and my house is in complete shambles and is in filth, and somebody comes into my house and as a roommate, and he starts cleaning things up and he starts fixing things, and then now the house starts looking really nice, and all of a sudden the house is now in working order.
Then you share power.
But when you were running the house, you could not get the house to be.
Yes, but the fact remains that it is my house, right?
But it's also my house too.
Our house.
It's not just your house.
No,
see, the fact
my point.
Here's the reason.
We shouldn't obfuscate this point. You've been far removed from this place for a long time, and you go back. And you go, it does matter. And you go back. It's the same as it is the same as an African who comes to America like me. Even though I have a U.S. passport, I don't feel entitled. I should be entitled as the born African American. It's just as simple as that.
Tell me why other races are running all the industries in Africa. Then you can tell me what I should or should not be entitled to, bro.
You have very broad statements.
But Brandon, before you go in on this, what I'm trying to get you to understand is, right now, I love Africans. We all love Africans. We all love them. They are our brothers. But what you have to also acknowledge, and you have to acknowledge this if you're honest, it is a certain type of person who would be okay going generation after generation after generation without electricity, and be willing to live in that. It is a certain type of person who would be okay with corrupt leader after corrupt leader after corrupt leader who pillages the country and abuses the people.
Are you saying this is the state of Africa? Is that what you're saying?
We all know that is the state of Africa.
No,
but what I'm saying is, yes, it is. 630 million Africans. Hey,
listen,
Paul,
I won't let you mischaracterize the people.
No, it's the truth. 630 Africans currently live without electricity. Let's go ahead and talk about Nigeria. Nigeria.
No. I'll just interject. I'll just give you a quick point. Just a sentence. That's why there's been war after war in Africa. Because
war after war. Paul, you just told a blatant, whether intentional or unintentional, mistruth. Wars in Africa has been fought and been instigated by outside factions to destabilize the country over control of natural resources, mineral wealth. Not because of people having general uprising over dissatisfaction with leadership. Because if that was the case, then the current president of Cameroon, who doesn't even live in Cameroon, he would have been overthrown a long time ago. People in Nigeria would have overthrown the Northerners a long time ago.
No, I can tell you in Sierra Leone, there were several.
I'm going to say it. And our brothers in Africa are primitive. They're not bad, but they're certainly primitive. Okay? They are not capable of ruling and running their own countries right now. They need to be educated. They need to be reformed. They need to be civilized. They're simply not capable of.
Listen, I'm not offended. Let me tell you this.
Paul, you can't be offended. You can't. Because if you're from Sierra Leone,
I should be, but the point, you said a lot.
You said a lot. Be offended. You can't be. Not off of the data.
You said a lot. No, don't try to shove it down my throat, okay? I listen to you.
Because Paul, here's the facts. My point is it's all yours. Under American Liberian rule, you had a stable democracy for 160 years.
It was not stable. I disagree.
Economy for 160 years. The moment the Americans were removed, you ended up with 2 civil wars and a football player as your president.
And who started that war? Charles Taylor came out of a prison in America and went back and started that war.
Okay. Let's say I grant you that. Why did Charles Taylor end up starting that war? Could it be because of the fact that a coup was happened against President Tolbert by some doofus Samuel Doe who started to pillage and who was an idiot leader? Like,
oh boy. Anyway, I was hoping this call would no, we
are having an intellectual conversation. I'm saying to you that you look at the state of most African countries, excluding Botswana, okay, and is that they are incompetently run. Let's look at Nigeria. Nigeria is supposed to be one of the most powerful nations in the world.
Listen. No, you keep going. You keep telling me that you just want to make this point. Let me say this. Do you think you Haitian and Haitian American or whatnot and Black Americans, do you think you people are the only ones who see that there are a lot of incompetent people in Africa? I could say that of Black people in the West. I could say that of Black people here in America. A lot of incompetencies, okay? Do you think
Black people in America don't have leadership? If you want to see Black leadership, you'd have to go back to the 60s before white folks killed all of them. So
the same way they were killing our leaders, our capable leaders. So what?
Yeah, but we have to acknowledge that there was a handful of them: Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba, Kwame Nkrumah. But the general
oh my God,
quality of leadership.
I could go through the list.
Okay. How about this?
And my point. Let me make this point.
Go ahead, make it.
And I think this is why it's very dangerous, because it's mentalities that are dangerous. Your mindset and the way. Please be quiet.
Brad, hold on, Paul. The reason why it's dangerous, because again, I said this before. Once again, Chinese, Lebanese, Indians, they're not given this same integration disclaimer
because they are not being integrated. They're not Blacks.
Period.
They're not Blacks. We don't see them.
Or not even integration, just a code of conduct. Here we go. Chinese.
No, because
are not given the same code of conduct.
Because when you come back, you're not stopping at. You're just doing business. You're not considered, okay, he's going to be a stranger.
Neither are they. They're having babies by Africans. There's whole
Please, that is a softball. That is a very softball. That's a very softball argument.
You live in Sierra
Leone. Paul, I'm going to ask one quick question, and then I'm done, man, for a second.
Wait. I want to talk back and forth a lot. Let me just say this. Right now,
please say something cogent.
Let me say this. While you guys are worried about us doing something, right now the Chinese are mining gold in Sierra Leone. Your women and girls are lying about their age to go work in the miner camps cleaning their dishes, babysitting their children, and just basically as like service workers. You have no control over what they're doing. We would be stupid to allow you to actually dictate what we do, because if we let you dictate what we do, then we just end up in the same place as you. It doesn't matter about the leaders. If the African leadership was competent, why did Fidel Castro get to live until he was old and died, but you guys couldn't devise a way to form alliances to protect your leadership? Everything you try, the reasons don't matter, Paul. The only thing that matters is the results. You sound like I'm not gonna say that, but you sound ridiculous with all these different excuses, bro. We're coming to Africa, we buying up everything, period. You have no say so. Either you gonna work with us or you stay in Atlanta and keep talking about the way things need to do.
I have a question, Paul. I have a question. My question.
Oh boy.
Please answer this question. That's it. This is a cogent question. There's no way you can. If diaspora blacks,
You echoing.
if diaspora blacks came to Africa and they, for example, did business, but what they did is they took over the banking system, took over the mining industry, took over all your major industries because they were more competent at running those things and had control of all the industry. Would that be okay? But didn't have any government power, but had control of all the industries. Would that be okay?
No.
What do you think?
I'm asking you, Paul.
No, I'm asking you a question to answer your question. What do you think?
I can tell you what I think would happen because of based off of my theory, which I feel like you're confirming.
I already know the answer. That
listen, I'm just telling you what you asked me a question. What I feel would probably happen is that the locals, who by the way would not be able to do that themselves, would get jealous of the diasporans and would have a problem. So even if the diasporans said, we don't want any government power, we're just going to do business, and through simple capitalism created a superior banking system and thus took over the banking system, created a superior educational system.
Okay, let me say this. Do you think there's any, because there are a lot of broad statements that have been made here. I'm really surprised. But the point is there any country there may be some, but I'm talking about, when I say Africa, I'm talking about the majority. Is there any country where you have, like, as you said, the whole banking system is being ran by foreigners? The whole educational.
We wouldn't be foreigners.
Oh my God.
We wouldn't be. We would have integrated into society. Remember, you said we integrate into society. Well, we integrate into society, and we're just better bankers than the locals. So we create a better, superior banking system. Instead of charging people 21% and doing predatory loans, we charge reasonable interest rates and do basic banking.
I'll tell you this. In economies, that's not how, and even running a country, that's not how you do it. Because even when someone's coming to a foreign country to do business, there are protectionary laws in place. Even in America.
Now we're getting
in America. No. Don't interrupt me. Let me finish what I'm saying. No. Don't interrupt me.
Limitations on how much power.
No. I listen. I want to listen because I listen all the time, and you keep cutting me off.
Can we let the United Force talk? I'm sick of hearing y'all talk. Can we let the sister talk, please?
Yeah. African Unite Force. Go ahead.
Hi everybody.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk. First of all, I want to ask, what is actually the reason for this conversation? Is it a productive one? Why are we having such conversation when we are just arguing about a whole bunch of things that I'm not seeing us heading to somewhere where we are coming together to make a decision that will benefit all. I want to state something, and I want to clear off a whole lot of things now. When the brother Paul is talking, I believe that brother Lou and Brandy and Dinus, you guys should let him speak. You don't cut him off. It's very disrespectful. You always talk over him because you don't want to listen. You just want to be heard. That's literally very disrespectful.
Yeah, but Sister African United, I've heard this argument before. Like I've heard this argument a million times. Again,
I understand, but it's about the truth, and it's about facts, and not about feelings and emotions now. So let me correct certain things here. You understand? So when I'm talking, if you talk over me, I'll be quiet, and maybe I will just go off. I won't speak. Then let me finish. Then I'll be quiet. Everybody, then you can speak. Now let's go back to May 31st, 1921. Exactly 99 years ago today. That has to do with the Black Wall Street. I want to ask, what have the Black Americans learned about the Black Wall Street? Because Brandy clearly stated that history does not matter, that you don't have to, the past does not matter. What has it got to do? When you don't know your past and you cannot learn from the mistakes of your ancestors, again, this is where the problem starts. Because what you guys are actually doing is defending the mistakes of our ancestors, which is very wrong. We shouldn't defend the mistakes of our ancestors. Rather, we should correct it this generation. Now, the mindset that we have is very important in this generation. You guys, you have to be careful with the types of words that comes out of your mouth and the things that you say, because this is global. It is a lot is the younger ones are watching a lot of things. This is history that is happening here. So when we come back to the history of Liberia, let's understand the methods or the things behind it, right? Now let's go back to a little history, because I do believe in correcting the mistakes of our ancestors and seeing how we, this generation, can actually correct it. Because what Lou Major and Brandy you're talking about is the same mindset of the colonizer, the American. You understand? Because that was the mindset they had when they sent the free slave back to Liberia. But let's look a little history before.
Okay, I have to interject. If you hang up, that's fine. I have to interject. You're not telling the complete story about what.
Let me finish. Can I finish? Can I finish and make my point, please? When you keep interjecting me, how can I even make my point when I'm not even done?
But hold on, Brad. I'm gonna mute you, Brad. Hold on. I'm sorry, not to be rude. I'm just sorry.
Now,
the point I'm saying is when you start saying words like the colonizer and American, the mindset again. Well, I want you to be balanced and give me 1 second. I want you to start from the adversity that the American Liberians faced when they first showed up to Liberia. If you could start with that and be balanced, then we can have this conversation. But that's what I'm about to do. Then That's why I said, let me finish, please. Go ahead.
Now, let's look again. Let's go back to a little history, right? About the American Liberian, right? Now, if you're talking about that, let's look at in 1847. That was when they came to Liberia, right? That was when they were.
No, it wasn't. It was 1822.
1822. All right, thank you for that. So in 1822, but it all started in the 1800s, right? It was motivated by domestic politics of slavery and race in the United States, right? As well as by the US foreign policy interests. Now, this American, the ACS, it all started by the ACS, a group of white people who has come together to form this group. And what is the meaning? Americans founded American Colonization Society. That's the meaning. Now, what is the motive behind this group? Now, these are a group of elites in the United States who's come together, right, to form this group.
No, they weren't. But keep going.
They were threatened by the growing numbers of freed of the Black Americans. And then what have they done? They are trying to saying that the free slave cannot integrate with the white people. And then they came together. I want you to look at the motive. Do I think that Black Americans colonized Liberia? My answer is no. But do I think that they had white supremacist mindset towards the locals, and they did the white people use the face of the Black Americans to carry out their agenda?
No.
Can I finish? This is the problem.
You're starting. I have to correct you. Again.
You can't correct me. That's not correction.
Okay, when the American Liberian showed up to Providence Island in 1822, what adversity did they face when they got there? Why did their mindset change? I mean, why did they, I guess, react the way they reacted? Can you please go into that? Because just go ahead, continue.
Dennis, be clear. Hey, let me just be clear about your question, please.
When you keep interjecting and when you keep interrupting, I'm not done yet because you heard me say certain things. You're not comfortable with it. This is the problem.
Keep going.
Dinah, she got to make a point. She gonna talk for an hour,
Brandon,
bro.
let her talk, Brandon. Just go ahead, continue.
So why am I here if I'm not allowed to talk, or if I'm given the floor?
No, but it's just,
why are we having this
I've heard
conversation?
these talking points, but the talking point that is missed, I just want you to get to, okay, again, they had the white man's mindset, all this other stuff. But again, what did they face? Why did they react the way they reacted when they showed up to Providence Island?
Dinus, I'm someone who I someone who is factual, and I'm very logical. I don't go with feelings and all of this. And let's look at facts now.
Okay.
Now in 1818, the society sent, which is the ACS, right? They sent 2 representatives to West Africa to find a suitable location for the colony. You understand? But they were unable to persuade local tribal leaders to sell any territory. Now, in 1820, 88 free black settlers and 3 society members sailed for Sierra Leone, and before they depart and headed to, to Liberia, and then they signed a constitution requiring that an agent of the society administer the settlement under U.S. laws. Now, I want you to understand that these the freed slaves that came back, they signed a treaty with the American government that they will carry out the American laws in Liberia. They will continue in doing what the American wants them to do. Now, I want you to understand that when the free slave came to America, they saw something was wrong with the locals because there were locals already there. They saw that something was wrong with the locals. They saw that, first of all, that of course they were not. They saw that the locals were not educated. Why? Because
Brandon, hold on. She's getting to the. Keep going.
They saw something wrong with the locals. First of all, that these people are not educated. Second of all, these people are not religious. Third of all, these people are not the same as us. So they did not integrate it with the locals. They separated themselves.
I gotta stop you now. That's a fact. I have to stop you now.
That's a fact, Daniel.
No, it's not. This is the fact. American Liberians showed up. Locals were still participating in the slave trade. So think about it. I come to Africa. I come to Nigeria. I walk out of Murtala Muhammad Airport. As I walk out, Yorubas are selling Yorubas to white people. How do you think I'm going to respond?
Now, let me tell you, Daniel, do you understand that the British and also was it the Portuguese or French? They were also very much involved in Liberia, because they wanted the resources and many of these things there.
Hold on,
Brandon. No, but Brandon, hold on. But that's my point. So again, I'm a free slave. I'm free. I'm coming back home to Africa. I show up, and African tribal leaders in Liberia are still selling slaves to the Portuguese and whoever. How do you think I'm going to react? I show up. Then I make peace treaties with African leaders, and they start reneging on the treaties. I mean, talk to my friends.
Can I jump in? Hey, this is Paul again.
You know what?
Hey, Paul, you should feel some way if you see that. But
no, Paul. Did it happen? But did it happen,Ul? Did it happen?
Listen.
Paul.
No. There's no yes. There's no yes or no answer. Let me answer.
Yes, not a yes or no answer, Paul.
No, because it's not every leader that's slave.
Okay, here's the thing, guys. I got to say this: the reason that this conversation is essential, African United Force, is, and why this is why I know everybody seems to. I don't care if I sound sexist here. Everybody always says a woman needs to have a voice. In a situation like this, a woman doesn't need to have a voice. Because in this particular scenario, the reason that this conversation is necessary and important is because of the fact that the reality is there is going to be a migration from the diaspora to Africa, because it's necessary and it's starting to become dangerous for diasporan blacks. And what you have to understand is, while I think an overwhelming majority of Africans will be perfectly fine with that and actually happy with it, I do think that there is two groups of people. First, the people who are currently benefiting in Africa right now from the exploitation of the African populace. And then two, you're going to have another group of African people who come from the Paul Mills camp, who comes from the Shaha camp, that guy who spoke the other day, who are going to say, these people, they're here and they're going to, in other words, jealous. Who's going to want to limit their power in every way, saying you could do business, but up to this point. You could be involved in government, but up to this point, to try to limit those people and keep them in a box. And if you want to see an actual example of that, you look at Nigeria, because the entire Biafran War, and I don't want to sit there and make any side sound like good or bad, but the Biafran War started ultimately way back in 1904 when the Lugard put the north and the northeast and south together. When he made Nigeria as what it was, and then he made the north. Then they gave the Northerners a disproportionate amount of power. Those Northerners who benefited from colonialism didn't even want to be independent unless they were able to maintain their power. And then when the Igbos came out, because they had a culture of wealth creation, they went all around Nigeria and they started taking over industry. Particularly, the Northerners started to get jealous of the Igbos and then therefore wanted to limit them. The Igbos then responded by orchestrating a coup, and then the coup failed, of course, then all shit went to hell, and then you had the Biafran War for over 3 years. So my point is what pretty much happened is one group simply just ran past everybody else, and then the people who are currently benefiting from the current power structure said they're a threat, and therefore we have to limit them. And so what you have to understand is the diasporans are going to be like the Igbos of Africa. Igbos tend to be smarter than most people, not all people. They're not like superior in any way, but they have a culture that values wealth creation, that values education similar to the Yoruba. And so for that reason, they tend to do better than everybody else, especially economically. And so what's going to happen is you're going to have a whole bunch of diasporans who are more educated, from first world societies, who have a different set of values, who are going to come in and they're going to build industry, they're going to build institutions, they're going to take control of major important sectors in these economies because they're going to be more competent in running them. And while the general populace will be happy about that, because that means better electricity, better education, better roads, better infrastructure, and a better overall quality of life, there is going to be two groups of people. The people who currently are benefiting from the exploitation of Africans, which is most African leaders. And then you're going to have this other group of people who are just simply going to be jealous of the growth and prosperity of the diasporans. And Paul, at this point, you cannot deny what I'm saying, because you have at this point said that there should be limits.
Let me be clear on that. Let me be clear on that when I said that.
You said it.
Yes, I said that.
I want to hear. I mean, I want to hear the sister still. I mean, I respect. Go ahead, African Unite for us. I still want her to.
Can we just finish this real quick?
No. It's just the problem. The problem I have when it comes to Liberia, once again, the whole story is not told. It's just this same old narrative. African Americans came with a white man mindset and they colonized Liberia. You never give the true full story. Paul, you're proving my point, because again, you do not want to admit that those tribal leaders in Liberia were participating in the slave trade and did not want to give up that check.
That's generic.
Come on,
listen to me. Okay, just listen to me. Just listen to what I'm saying. I say it's generic because even like my tribe that I come from in Sierra Leone, my tribe suffered a lot from the slave trade. A lot of my people, even the Yoruba tribe. So this people were selling people. Some were under duress, and some had nefarious intents behind it. But this is what happens when you destroy the fabric of a people, and in the fog of war, these things can happen. Anything can happen.
And that's the problem.
Let me make a point. Let me make a point.
Hold on, Brandon. You're trying to.
Brandon, if you're making quit talking over people. If you want to make a point, come in and make a point. But Don't interject when somebody's making a point.
No, but Paul, my point. Hold on, Brad. This is my Paul. I just hate when again. Why are we trying to sugarcoat the fact that when Black Americans showed up to Liberia, that Africans were participating in the slave trade? How do you think that Black Americans are going to react?
Okay, let me answer that. If that they should react. It's bad. If they see that, it's bad. And if it's me, I go back. Then yes, I see that it's bad. But let's get to the again. As I was answering, when you say Africans,
oh my God,
that's a broad. Listen.
Listen,
not every African. When it was Black people selling Black people, not every African participated in that. Can we agree on that? Yes, okay. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, but
it's not every African, and it's not every leader.
But again, we're not telling the full
when
story.
You say African, it's a broad swipe.
Yes, but when the Americos made treaties and got along with certain tribes that were not participating in the foolishness, and in the ones that were, the Americos had to circle the wagons, rightfully so. The Americos had to circle the wagons for the chiefs that reneged on the treaties that they made with the Americos. So again, I'm just, we just want to.
And where did you get that? Where did you get that from? Which because I could tell you there are no.
Listen, let me ask you a question. I'm gonna ask you a simple question.
No, let me finish.
Why do you feel that there should be limits put on the diasporans when they come to Africa? In a structure,
and you mischaracterizing it, because I said I'm well and good for the integration and coming back and even into government. But the point of the matter is,
like president, can he become president?
I think not the first generation. No,
come on, bro.
Definitely no.
Okay, so limits.
Why?
You're for limits. Why don't you be a fucking man? Say what you actually feel, man. Stop with this bullshit.
Shut up, Blue Major, please. I'm a man, and should I be?
Then say what you mean and mean what you say. You believe that there should be limits on the diaspora.
I am saying. I said what I said already. What's your point? I'm just
okay. Why do you feel like there should be limits? Why? Why do you feel that? Defend your position.
Because even what did you say?
Defend that position. You believe that there should be limits on the diaspora. Okay, fair enough. Why?
Then
why do you feel that way?
And be quiet. Don't interject. When you
come, now you're being honest.
Good try. But okay.
Oh, my bad. My bad, Paul. My bad. I meant to mute Lou Major and Brand. Guys, let him talk. Go ahead, Paul. I'm sorry. That was hear me? Go ahead. Go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So when you come to every country in the world, say like me, I have an American passport. I came here. I would say I'm fully integrated in this country. But I can never be president, and I'm okay with that. And that's the way it should be. My child maybe can do that. Yeah, my child should be able to do that if they're born in this country. And that's just the way it is. If you move as a Black person to America, to Africa, no, you shouldn't be president. You weren't born on the land. So go let you give birth there, and your child who comes up there knows the culture and everything and is in the system, yes, can be president. Absolutely. But that's the way it should be, even with economies. Even in America, which is a very capitalistic society, there are limits, there are protectionary measures for the local American and private businesses coming to America. And that's the way it should be. Because sooner or later, you wouldn't have a country.
So let me ask you this then. So let's say you get the first generation. Let's walk with this. First generation of African Americans. We'll use African Americans. I remember the diaspora is large, but we're just going to use African Americans for the sake of this conversation. They come in and they upgrade your internet infrastructure, your electrical infrastructure, your water infrastructure, your educational system. They upgrade all of it. Now, of course, since they upgraded it, they own it, right? Because they build these things, right? Now, you didn't have them built before they got there. They show up and then they build those things. So now they own the electrical grid and they own the water grid. Are you saying that what should the government, if African Americans showed up to, I'll say Sierra Leone, which has, and they start to buy up the water companies or buy up interest in water companies or created a new water company. Let's say they created a new water company that provided superior service, and over time it became so big that it bought up all the other water companies and they became the only water company, but they provided better, cleaner drinking water to the populace. And they do the same thing for electrical, telecommunications, et cetera, et cetera. Should the government intervene, in your opinion?
When you say intervene, what do you mean? And to what extent? And
like limit how big they could become, limit how prosperous they could become, like limit them in any way. Put any, as you would call, protectionist.
I'll answer it, but that's a very broad question. But the point is, essential services like that, I personally don't necessarily think they should be in one group or one small group's hand, because those are essential services. If that's a monopoly.
I agree with that. I think if infrastructure is I guess created in a country, that's for the country.
You have things they call like parastatals, where you'll have it half commercial, half government, because it's essential. So you're still integrating the business aspect of it. You can get your profit and all that, but then the government still retains that just for the sake of the populace. And if you come in and you're building a business in some country in Africa, just understand that your customers are going to be those local people, the masses.
Yeah. So what I believe is when diasporans show up, I believe the masses are going to actually be happy that they're there. I've actually made it because their lives are going to improve, because they're going to create things that currently are not there, that are going to make the lives of the populace better. But what I'm also saying is what comes with that is wealth and power. Right. Now, what I'm saying is there is a large number of people. You're not the only one. So there's a large number of people in Africa, and I'm telling you, they're coming from two groups. One, the people who currently are benefiting from the exploitation of their own populace.
And the people who are jealous, who are going to be jealous.
And the people who will be jealous. And you cannot sit there and not acknowledge that what I'm saying is true.
And basically, I'm one of the people who are jealous. And
I'm not saying you're one of the people who are jealous, but you're having a stance of we need to limit them.
No,
okay.
No,
similar to how the Northerners had a thought of to limit the Igbo and persecuted them.
Time, and Dinah's agreed with me too. I just took some time to explain how that should be, and I just took some time also to explain that I'm all for it, but I want to avoid conflicts and dissensions and butting heads that may come about when you agreed.
But what I'm saying is the conflict and dissension is going to happen.
No. Just listen to me. Let me finish. You cut me. You people are cutting me off again.
You know, Paul, you got it. Go ahead.
No. So and now I've lost my point. You mentioned power. You said that comes with the the advantage and building a business, and you have the whole grid. Yeah, that comes with power. Yes, and we all know it's cliche, but it's very true. With much power comes much responsibility. But is it everybody that has power who exercises that restraint and responsibility? No, it's human nature. It goes back to what I was saying initially. Because when people get power, they change. And when you get power, I'm saying, if you're allowed to go back there and control a whole industry, will you use it for the good and the betterment of everything? We have something we call Ubuntu. Yes, there's capitalism. There's you got to make your business, you got to make your money, but in essence, you got to do it for the common good also to sustain it. Just like environmental issues, you take from the environment, but make sure you put back so that you're sustaining it, because it's good for you and it's good for the environment also. That's
okay. So then this goes back to Dynas's question, Paul. Paul, wait, Brandon, watch. This goes back to Dynas's question. Why are Africans in Africa not saying the Ubuntu stuff about other groups of people, other races of people specifically, who pretty much go to your country and take over your industry?
I don't know which industry. They have large businesses.
Okay, hold up. You know what? Now, Paul.
Let me give you an example. Sierra Leone. Let me give you an example. Sierra Leone. There are a lot of Lebanese there. A lot of Indians there.
Okay, but Paul, who owns majority of the mines in Sierra Leone? You said you want to have an intellectual conversation, right?
The government.
So let's have it.
It's the government running it. It's the government and some of them.
Who has all the mining contracts, Paul? Come on, please don't do this. Okay, we're making progress. We're making progress. Don't start. You know. And how about this? I'll help you out.
Listen, you inserted something I don't know. So explain.
Listen, European companies have all the mining rights in Sierra Leone.
European companies have all the mining rights. No, don't say that. Maybe they may be bigger. No. Let me. You said something. You asked a question also, and I'm answering. So let me answer. No, because even my aunt, when I was younger, people will buy license. A friend of mine will get licenses from the government and mine. The only difference is they won't have enough money for the equipment and to be large enough like the foreign companies. That's the only difference. But anyone can get a mining license.
Right. I agree with you, Paul. But who in essence is doing all the mining? You just actually said it. You just don't want to say it out loud.
This guy just used anecdotal evidence to disprove something that we all know is a fact. That's what I'm saying. If you're not going to be honest with the conversation, Paul.
I'm from Sierra Leone. I'm talking the truth about what's there, but you have better facts than me.
Because I had
Paul, come on, man. Come on.
Look,
come on. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, bro, you know that in most African countries, the African populace do not control their economy. They don't control their natural resources. And even if they did, and it hurts me to say it, but right now, as we speak, even if these countries did control their natural resources, they wouldn't know how to manage it.
Okay, that is the mentality I was talking about.
But it's the truth.
Nope. Let me finish. Don't cut me off again. And when the lady who came in previously, African something, that's what I started saying when she came in. The mentality. And that is what it's dangerous. It's very elitist. It's very, I'm better than you. It's us against them. We're more advanced. Do you think there are not enough intellectuals and business people in Africa? You kidding?
African people have good ideas, but most of them don't have the capital.
You think maybe you mixing with the lower level people, the people who are not the shakers and movers. That's what you're doing.
Listen, I'm a person who does business in Africa. You know, when you go to Africa, there are a lot of people with great ideas.
Yes,
they do not have the capital to execute the ideas. You guys talk about African Americans having an elitist attitude, but then you don't even recognize the elitist attitude that already exists in Africa when you have people who have billions of dollars but will not invest in people who have less money, who have great ideas. Marcus Garvey is someone
and I agree with that.
You talked way more than me. Paul, please let me finish this point. Marcus Garvey said it best. He said, never forget that intelligence rules the world and ignorance carries the burden. For too long, Africans on the continent have been ignorant of the fact that they have allowed other races to come in and dominate them economically and spiritually, right? And instead of acknowledging that now it's time for them to kind of work with, or if you're going to work without the diaspora, it's fine. But if you're going to stand there and block up the road, you need to step aside, right? It's like you're a Christian, man. Let me use the Bible. Jesus, let me finish. Jesus used the Bible. He talked to the Pharisees. He said, sons of vipers, you do not wish to go in, but you wish to keep out the people who want to go in. So this is the reality. The Africans, for the most part, they don't want to do what it takes to elect responsible leadership and take over their own industries. So when we come and say, hey, look, we don't got all the answers, but we got a little bit of money, a little bit of capital, and we got enough experience. See, we have more experience than you with these other races, right? The average African never even sees a person who's not black unless they leave the village or somehow they run into a missionary or something. We've been in America 400 years dealing with these other races. So we have an understanding of the way these people operate that most Africans do not possess. So when we say, bro, look, we got this part. We're going to come in. We're going to deal with these Chinese, Lebanese, Americans, and Indians the way you're supposed to.
Okay, listen, I agree with all what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying.
You in Atlanta. Anyway, let me finish my point. So when we say we're going to come in and we're going to do this and do that and do this, all I'm asking is this. Please go police and regulate the other races the same way you're trying to police and regulate what we're doing. Because if you can't do it to them, why should we then allow you to do it to us? If
listen, you made a lot of points.
If I was listening to you, I wouldn't even have the things in Africa that I have right now. So my mind says, don't listen to guys like Paul and go work with the people who are encouraging you to come in. My people in Kenya tell me, no, B, come through. Come do this, come do that. I got friends who are engineers, lawyers.
And why are you mischaracterizing? Didn't you hear on this podcast when I said that I'm all for you guys coming in and doing that? Yeah. So around in circles. No, let me answer. Let me answer. But my point is, if you're doing it that way, it's well and good. But to come in and say you take over, it's that's the elitist I'm talking about.
Bro, we're not taking over. We're taking it over from the Chinese, the Lebanese, the Indians. We are going to take it over. If I go to Kenya and the Lebanese own up all the restaurants and I come in and take over the restaurant industry, I am taking it over. It is something that you allowed to slip from between your fingers. And now I'm going to come in and take control of it. It's like a football team.
When you take over, what do you do?
Then you create the opportunities for your people that they don't have. Look, I go to Kenya, I go to Lamak, I go to wait, let me give you an example. I go to Kenya, I go to Lamak, I go to the restaurant on the roof, right? The building is not owned by Indians, it's owned by Africans. The restaurant is not owned by Africans. The gym is not owned by Africans. You go in, the waitresses are are Indian women. Everybody, the Africans just get to work in the kitchen, bro. So if I come in, right, and I say, yo, look, I take over this business. I want Africans working in this place from top to bottom, front desk, gym, restaurant, everything. That's what we do different. We come in
with that.
Hire our own.
Listen. Maybe all this argument is semantics. Maybe we're saying the same thing but saying it differently, and so that causes some kind of friction. My point is, if you're doing it that way, I'd rather a Black American go back there and take the place of the Chinese, the Lebanese, the Indians.
And in that case, you are fine with Black Americans taking over.
Paul, listen,
because that's the reality.
Lou,
no. When you say take over in totality,
listen.
The Lebanese and the Chinese and all, they're not in total control.
Hold on. I'm gonna read you guys a comment from the audience so you guys can see the impact this has. This person said, I have to definitely learn from Brandon because I get discouraged when I listen to Africans like Paul. I have to stop listening to them and listen to Africans who want to work with Black Americans. What I'm telling you is it don't matter what we're talking about. It only matters the impact that it has on the psyche of our people. If you cannot present what you're saying in a way that promotes people working together and doesn't discourage them, now the Africans in the diaspora will never come to Africa to work with you. They'll say, well, I might as well start my business in America. Because
okay. Because listen, you picked up one comment, and that person is wrong. Because what I'm saying,
a lot of people have money to invest.
Okay.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
I'll give you my word. I'll give you my word. Would it be okay if African Americans, I'm focusing specifically on African Americans, pretty much came and took over all of the industries that Africans currently don't control? Would that be okay?
That will be okay. Yes.
Okay. Do you understand that you are advocating? I just want to make sure do you understand that you are, in essence, if you're okay with that, then what you're really saying is that you would be okay with African Americans coming and, in essence, taking over the economies. Because what you have to understand, listen, as a person, listen, because the reality is a majority of African nations, from South Africa, Namibia, Sierra Leone, I don't know about Liberia, but Ghana, excluding Nigeria, really, most of their industries is owned by foreigners and foreign companies. So if you're okay, no, don't lie. Okay?
I take an exception to that. You're throwing a lot of words around. No, but go ahead.
So if you're okay, so for example, in the Congo, almost all of the mineral industry, all of the minerals from the coltan mines and everything like that, the mine might be owned by some greasy politician, but the mining rights, which is what's actually important, is owned by some foreign company. Same thing with Sierra Leone. The mines might be owned by the government, but the mining rights, the rights to mine those mines, are overwhelmingly, disproportionately owned by foreign companies. And this is the case throughout most of Africa. So if what you're saying is, and those who own those resources and own those industries, that's who owns the economy. So if you're saying that you're okay with Black Americans coming in and taking over those industries that you Africans currently don't own in your own country, then you don't realize that you're saying that you're fine with African Americans either outright taking over the economy or a large chunk of it.
I wouldn't say outright taking over the economy, because, as I said again, these people don't own it all. All right. There, as I said, I have an aunt, an uncle, I know people personally who have rights to mine diamond and gold, family members to mine in Sierra Leone. As I said, it may not be large scale as these large companies, but if people in the diaspora, or even people like me who was born on the continent, go back with enough capital, the main thing is the capital, really. Enough capital to inject and get a mine going, then we can do it. There's nothing stopping somebody like me. So the only difference between those companies is it's just the first people to appear with the money. It's the money. That's what it is. Africa lacks capital. It's not skills. It's capital, period. All right. So whoever brings that, if it's Black people in diaspora, the Caribbean, wherever, South America, Black people come, I would prefer that they come, as opposed to the Lebanese and all that, who will take it back. But if they come in just to exploit, I use the word exploit, and not to put back and build, then that's a colonizer mindset. Then what's the point? What's the difference?
So Paul, I think we have now we're coming to an agreement then. So you feel like you and those who have the concerns that you have, because the locals, the majority of the locals, I don't think would actually care that much as long as their quality of life improves.
Right. But they don't have these conversations.
Guys, the segment of the population that would be more like yourself, okay? You're saying you would be perfectly fine with Black Americans taking over the industries that Lebanese and the Chinese and the foreigners own. If they came in and pushed them out and took over, as long as they gave employment opportunity, jobs, and took care of the locals, you would be perfectly fine with them owning those industries, and you would not feel like there should be any limits put on the power that they would wield from owning those industries. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. And of course, with everything, there's a caveat. As long as we stick to the agreements, clear agreements and all that, equitable and fair practices. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But I would rather but this is the slight difference in what we're talking about as far as between foreigners and Blacks who are coming back. If you come in to do business, but also to integrate. So you're going to have certain powers. You're going to have political power also. And you're going to have.
And that would be fine with you, right?
that would be fine with me. But as I said, there's a balance with everything, because I just don't like the terminology of coming and taking over, because that is a recipe for disaster.
You know what? You know what? So let's use a different word. If Black Americans come in and not take over industries that Africans are currently running, of course not. We're saying the ones that they're not running, right? The ones that foreigners are running, that foreign government companies have.
Right.
If Black Americans came and took that over,
right,
do you don't believe that there should be any limitations put on them, and they would be able to have that wealth and resources and be and that without any fear or concern of government backlash, and they should be free and comfortable to wield the power that comes with that. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now,
here's all things being equal,
that comes with that. I want you to understand what you just agreed to, because here's the deal. If Black Americans came and they did that, if there was ever a president who stepped out of line, for example, and tried to, I don't know, seize their businesses, which we know that some presidents will do things like that, then because of the massive amounts of wealth and power that those African Americans would now have, they would be able to do exactly what Europeans are doing right now, and simply remove them and put in a person that it's called a coup d'etat. You find a guy who is going to align with your viewpoints and your values. You go ahead and you fund him, you give him money, you give him and his people guns, and then you go ahead and have his people go ahead and kill that guy. That's what the Europeans do right now. And the reason that they're able to do that is because hold up. The reason they're able to do that is because they own a majority, if not all, of the major industries within Africa, because Africans don't own it. So if you said, okay, well, the Black Americans can come in and do that, what comes with that is, okay, now I am going to come in and do that. If you try to seize my property, if you try to seize my land or my resources, I'm going to kill you. So I don't need to run your government. That's how.
Then you're talking serious now. You're talking war. There's no time where a sitting government or president should be able to take or seize the property of any individual,
You're absolutely right. But does it not happen all the time?
I wouldn't say all the time. I can say that in Sierra Leone, I think we're past that. I don't know for other countries.
It would never come to that.
Say you start wielding, you have that power of these many companies, and you have a lot of money, and you have the ability to interfere with government. Will you do it? That's a nefarious practice right there.
Well, here's the deal.
So if you do it,
there would be no need to do it. Here's the deal. Business and government typically work side by side. The only time there's conflict between business and government is when government tries to encroach on business. That's how it works.
You're wrong. Business always leads government. That's what it is. The business people fund the politicians. The business people create presidents. So business, money, that power, money and politics. Money has more power than politics because money can determine.
Exactly. And so if the African Americans, for example, said you can keep the government, you can have the government.
No,
we'll simply take over the industries that you don't own.
No, it's okay. Yeah, that's not.
You said that would be fine.
That's not takeover. I think there should be
equity. Well, I'll run with that.
There should be equity.
I'm satisfied.
Sharing and there should be accountability on both sides, and to make for a more prosperous, society for everybody, and peace, and maintaining the peace. Also,
well, better run business will create a prosperous society for everybody. If the whole issue is you want to maintain power in government, I think that's perfectly fine. You could have the government. As long as there's no
blacks in the diaspora and people like me going back should have a hands in the government. It shouldn't be ultimate, but it should be enough to bolster it and to move it in the right direction, to nudge it in the right direction. And as far as business, I think it should be open as long as it is not predatory, it is not monopolizing. And when you monopolize and get that power and influence the government in a nefarious way, that will destabilize everything. That's what I'm saying. There should be balance and it should be structured. People need to think about these things and plan it out well and give clear guidelines on what we're going to do, because whenever there's change, there's going to be a push and pull power, and we don't want to set things off in the wrong direction. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. No problem. I think I understand where you're coming from. You have a concern about this, even the term of a takeover. I get that. And my whole position is, based off of this conversation, because which needed to happen, I don't think Black Americans should try to go over there and say, I'm going to take over the government. As a matter of fact, I would argue that maybe Black Americans should just not worry about the government and simply worry about taking over, not anything that Africans own, taking over the industries that they don't own.
I think they should.
And as long as you're saying that that's fine,
I think they should be concerned with the government, because if they go and take over some industries and you have that power, there's no way you're going to have that much power and on that many people and not have a pull and an influence on government, on business. So let's not like kick that can down the road. That's what I'm saying. It should.
That's the thing. There's a saying. A great banker once said, can't remember his name, give me control of a nation's money, I care not who makes its loss. Right. So the point that I'm saying to you is, I believe that Black Americans should not care about the government, because government really is a bunch of politicians who are just tradable commodities. I mean, Bill Gates almost had a vaccine law passed in Nigeria for $10 million. So who cares? What matters is, as long as I hear you're saying is that people who would be in your camp, I'll call them the concern camp, would be fine with African Americans or diasporans coming in and taking over industry, as long as they don't try to take over government, and particularly specifically industries that is not currently African controlled. That's what I think I heard you say.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, and if that's the case, then we're good. I think that would be a fair compromise. And I think that's what most Black Americans want anyway. They just want to be able to take over industry.
I mean, I've seen the conversations, and I've seen some of the things going on the internet, and it's not so. You guys are not a monolith. You all don't think the same.
Okay, brother. The majority of Black Americans that are in my camp, in fact, all Black Americans in my camp, they're not talking. They're not speaking. There's no rhetoric in regards to taking over in regards to government. It's about getting the hell out of America, setting up, establishing businesses, and living in Africa. Like, I have not, in my camp, not one Black American has ever said, I want to be president of so-and-so, so-and-so, or I want to be in government. It's just get the hell out of America and live a very happy life in Africa.
Yeah, I mean, I see that, the majority and more of that. But, I mean, it takes a few. It takes a few to a few bad eggs, but industry and government. I mean, as I said, there's no way you can have influence. A lot of people go back. Say 10 million African Americans go back. Do you know how much power that is?
Well, number one, okay. So, let me get Metro. Go ahead. I'm gonna respond to that because I mean,
hey,
go ahead, Metro.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Metro.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Yes.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make it quick. I have a point, and then I'm going to follow up with a question. So going back to the topic of whether African Americans will integrate into Africa, I'm African myself, but I know this. I can trust that the African American will integrate far much easier into Africa than a Chinese or an Indian ever will. An African American
Nah, brother's breaking up, man. Oh, dang, man. Metro, call back, brother. Black Ambassador, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I definitely will build on the point that he was making. I mean, I think a good amount of African Americans want to go back to America, or excuse me, Africa, for particular reasons of just coming back home. I hear like a lot of context on where we talk about, can they come back and can they be the president or can they not? And yeah, those points should be talked about. But I think it's also important that, well, I heard a lot of things about, we don't have money, we don't have capital. I mean, in Africa, there is their own money. Everybody has their own money. You have your own resources to back it up. I mean, so outside of that, the capital is there. It's about us taking control of our own capital, us taking control over our own destiny. And I heard a lot of context about, what Africans, Americans should do. And, we always have this connotation of erring on the side of caution. Africans are going to come over and do something very brutal. When there's like, I don't know how many bases are in Africa right now.
There are a number of bases. In fact, there's a couple of drone bases in Nigeria.
Exactly. And this is what we're talking about. Be afraid of the African that has the mentality of the colonizer that shall take over the continent, just like X, Y, and Z. I mean, is this really the focal point of our conversation about diaspora, Africans, and Africans on the continent? I'm just asking the question. I'm posing it.
Can I answer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I believe that in everything, especially when you're looking at massive change and nation building, you got the word I used was structured. You got to be structured. You got to look at your past and your weaknesses, what caused you to be where you are. And that's all I'm looking at. And I'm speaking firsthand experience here from the wars that came out of those countries.
Yeah, but Paul, again, Paul.
No, I'm making a point, Dinus.
But Paul, the issue is, again, when we look at the past, it's not from a balanced view. And again, your beef is with Samuel Doe. That has nothing to do with America.
Dinus, let's agree to disagree on that point, although it's important to fully assess that situation moving forward. But my point is, if you're having a lot of say, for example, Black Americans, which are the majority really of the bloc, or the most powerful of the bloc, let me put it that way, because one, you guys have more access to capital than any other Black people on the face of the earth. Africa, we have the resources. Yes, there's capital, but it's not enough to go around because of the way things have been structured, but we have the resources. So
wait, hold on. You said you don't have capital, right?
No, we don't have it as much.
Why is that? Why is that? You have your own currency.
Yeah, we have our own currency, but it's all tied into, the central banks across the world. That's how the world.
Okay, so wait, whose fault is that? Whose fault is that?
Listen,
I'm just asking the question.
Right, bro. You can say that of all the other countries, including white countries in the whole world. We all in the system.
Well, no, because Asians have their own banking system. They have the AIIB, they have the ADB, they have many different institutions of their own, financial institutions that actually don't follow by the constructs of the IMF and the World Bank. And if you look at when they joined them, it was later on into the late 19th. It wasn't in the early phases. So the question once again is, I'm just asking, don't say look at the rest of the world, because the rest of the world is not like Africa. We're talking about strictly Africa, right? We're talking about African countries, right? So I'm asking the question, you don't have capital, but you have your own currency and you have the resources to back it up, right? So what's the issue there?
Right. Well, again, I go to the point that it's still tied. That's the system we have.
So the issue of the case is it being tied, right? Is that the problem?
No, I mean, we're talking a general point here.
No, there's no general point. I'm being very specific. You said nation building. Let's not talk general point. So I'm just asking a question.
What are you driving at? Because I'm answering the question and you take me back and forth. We're talking about banking.
You said we're tied to the IMF, right?
Go ahead.
You said we're tied to the IMF, right?
Yes, we know that.
No. I'm asking you a question. You said, and I'm making sure and I'm clarifying. You said we're tied to the IMF, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Get untied. End of story.
Is that your point?
End of story. Yeah, that get untied. But once again,
Okay, that's
we go into
that's
these
not a valid
conversations.
point. That's not a
That's
valid
that
point. You're
is that's
making
a
a very
very valid
simplistic.
point.
You're making a very simplistic point.
You can't rise being tied by other people's
Okay,
money and
okay.
currency.
How do you untie? Because you're making
What
it
do you
so
mean?
simple.
So wait,
Like
hold on. Wait.
statement. How do you untie?
Hey, real quick question. Well, I don't like making this example, but I will. Real quick question, Dias. What was Gaddafi trying to do?
Have his own gold back currency, the dinar.
Okay.
And what happened to him?
So you scared of that? So you gonna be scared of that?
Okay, no, I'm
Is
asking
that
you.
what it is?
No. I'm asking you a question. What happened to him?
Well,
So
he
how
was
do
assassinated.
how do you avoid what happened to him? So get to your point.
So wait, no. There's no point. I'm asking a question. So you said, how do you avoid what happened to him? So how do you think you avoid that? What do you think is a good
No,
strategy?
you're asking a lot of questions. This is not an interrogation. So you
No,
so
it's
you
not an
should have an
interrogation.
answer.
We're just having a conversation. It's not an interrogation.
No,
I'm not
it
even
is.
making a
You're
point.
asking a lot of
I'm asking a question.
and not
Let's
giving
dive
answers.
deeper into it. Let's dive deeper into it.
You give an answer for that. How about that? I give you the floor. Answer that.
You want me to answer my own question that I just had? Okay, bet.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, of course. So I'm thinking the possible thing that we could actually utilize is you said that he was assassinated. Well, we need to actually utilize our actual cooperativeness and unity to protect our entities which are trying to do the works on our behalf. Like Lou Major just said earlier. Lou Major, what did you say about Cuba and Venezuela? Two good examples of leaders who were trying to do something. But what did you say about it earlier, Lou Major?
They took control of their own resources and they didn't care about what precautions were going to come from foreign governments.
And how many assassination attempts were on those individuals that actually did that?
I mean, on Castro. I mean, who knows? I mean,
I think on Castro was like almost 100, like 80. It's something crazy on Castro.
Yeah, it was something high. I'm pretty sure it was something.
Yeah,
high.
if that one of Castro's, the CIA hired one of Castro's girlfriends to try to poison him.
Okay, black ambassadors. You're talking because what we're talking about was going on the tangent based on not trying to change the outlook of being tied with the IMF, World Bank. We're looking at
let me finish because you said you asked the question back to me.
Major change. No, and I'm talking now. You try to interrupt. Don't try to control.
Let's talk.
Good. And we could be more mature about this. But the point is,
actually, Paul, can I ask a real quick question and then you answer this? Just real quick. What do you think the people in, say, Sierra Leone or Liberia, how do you think they would feel if like a huge block of diasporans pulled all their money together and bought all of Africa's debt from the IMF? All of Sierra Leone's debt. Like they said, they went and bought all of the Sierra Leone's IMF debt and they owned it. So now Sierra Leone owed them money. Right? Would that be okay?
And believe you me, I've thought of that is a viable option. Because
okay. What do you think that would result in? No, I mean, the question I'm asking you is, what do you think that would result in if the African diasporans owned all of Sierra Leone's debt?
That will be a major bargaining tool.
Right. So maybe any law that they wanted to get passed would pretty much get passed. I mean, at that point, what would that be? What would you call that?
That is a lot of power and wield it well. That's what I'll say. You have a lot of power now, then wield it well. For the
okay, but that would be okay. You don't think there would be any objections to that?
What's that?
I'm just trying to figure out what the rules are at this point. Because the reason I'm asking you all these questions is what everybody needs to understand is some people might be frustrated with me. Some people are frustrated with you, Paul. But here's why this is important, is that there are a lot of people, more than a few, a lot of people who have these same concerns. Okay. And so what I'm using this as an opportunity for is for me to figure out what the rules are, because I think that there is a fear, or a concern. I'll use the better word, concern of the diasporans showing up and, as you put it, take over. So now, so the question becomes, okay, what's kind of the limits here? So, for example, if the diasporans bought up all of the IMF debt, you're okay with them having that power. If the diasporans bought up all of the industries that the Africans don't own, you feel like the people would be okay with that too. But you seem to you would specifically have some issues of very high levels of government. But you'd be okay with, for example, them owning industry, like majority of the mineral rights, majority of the agricultural rights. I mean, the stuff that the locals don't own. If the locals own it, that's fine. But if they don't own it, you're perfectly fine with the diasporans kind of taking that over. Or if they bought up all the IMF debt, that would be fine too.
That is equitable. Absolutely. That's what I'm at. It's the balance.
I'm just trying to figure out the rules here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we're talking on that platform as far as what I was saying earlier, that but talking about, removing from the IMF and all that. Yeah, I understand that these people and the West in general, we've been colonized, and we're still to a large extent economically. And so Black people in the diaspora, I think, is the viable option for Africa to get from underneath this economic strangulation that we're going on. And you look at Zimbabwe and all these places, you just need to be put on sanction. But if people like me or Black Americans pool resources and go back, that's going to be a lot of power, and with that,
and that would be okay.
That'll be okay. But there'll be a lot of responsibility on how you wield that power too. Because the responsibility will be in the hands of all these people with this power to make sure there's a balance and equity to maintain and keep these countries together. Because any slight move, somebody who's big, any slight move has a lot of power, you'll cause a lot of ripples. And you don't want to do that. You want to wield that power in a positive way.
Okay, but then at the same time,
but I don't trust.
Okay, so here's my question. At some point, if you have power, you have to use it to get things done, right? Because, for example, if diasporans owned all your debt and they came to your president and said, "We own all your debt now. We want automatic citizen for every single diasporan. No questions asked. They show up and they get a passport." Or we own all your debt, all those contracts that you got. Like for example, if they wielded that new power and said, "Okay, all those contracts that you got with Total and Gulf and Elf and Shell, we want you to terminate those contracts and give this over to Black Star Oil Company, this oil company, that oil company, and that mining company, because we own your debt now. That's how you're going to pay us back. You're going to give automatic citizenship automatically to all diasporans, no questions asked, and you're going to give over those contracts that you currently have with these Europeans over to African Americans."
I think those negotiations should happen before the debts are taken over. I think those negotiations should be because if you try to
here's the problem. There's no point in negotiating with you when it comes to buying your debt. You don't own your debt.
Yeah, I don't own my debt, but you don't own all my resources either. And my resources, and it's relative, and my resources may just be way more than the debt that you purchased. So, and that's my point about wielding it in a capitalistic and predatory way. If you have all that power, and Black Americans do, as I said, they have they have access to more capital than any other Black people in the world. So if you go back in numbers, you're gonna have a lot of power, a lot of access to a lot of capital. So what are you gonna do with it? Are you gonna do it in an equitable way? How are you gonna be predatory? Are you gonna be like a colonizer? That's the question I'm asking. You see my point?
Okay.
Hello, Lou Major. I just had to come in. Sorry, because Diana's is not here at the moment. But from I said something last week on a show here about something I saw on the show that I found quite disturbing. And some of the comments I'm hearing from you, Lou Major, today is lending weight to that kind of concern. Let me give you the scenario here. There is a scene that is painted of the American intelligence community setting up shop to set up and coordinate events in Africa. And these events are meant to counteract the what China is doing there. And guess who, the kind of people that were on the scene? Most of them were African Americans. So when you see that, you worry that there are people out there that are going to be wearing our skin suits, that are going to be acting, they are going to be doing things that may not necessarily be in the interest of Africa itself. So, and one of the terms that we have to be careful about using, words matter a lot. And I think Lou Major and Paul, you guys are on the same side, but because of words, about taking over, and it comes across as you are saying we are different from you. And if you are different from us, then what are you doing there?
No, I don't see Black Americans as different. What I'm actually saying is I'm using the terms that are being given to me to try to come to an understanding of what, because here's the deal. Right now, Africa in the way that it is, and the reason that it has a lot of problems is this system that is in Africa, that of exploitation and in essence financial rape, only can exist to Niger unless there is a group of people within that nation who are benefiting from it. Okay, so you get Black Americans, Black Americans who would actually go to Africa, okay, because you got a lot of niggas. I don't call those Black Americans; those are niggas. Black Americans who would actually pack their bags and go to Africa are going to be very smart people. They're going to be very smart. They're going to be very driven. They're going to have some resources, and they're going to have some experience and knowledge that the locals don't have. So what comes with that is they're going to build industry, they're going to grow wealth, and they're going to eventually accumulate lots of power. As that happens, the current guard that is benefiting from the impoverishment of Africans, they are going to have a lot of incentive to try to get rid of those people. That's one. White folks who are going to be afraid of Black Americans, and I'm using Black Americans, but I'm talking about diasporans, but for now we'll use Black Americans. White folks in America who are going to be afraid of Black Americans taking over because now you're going to start having competent governance all of a sudden. They're going to stoke up fear amongst certain people in the populace by saying, "Oh, these people are the new colonizers, they're the new oppressors," certain hot words to try to rile up opposition against those Black Americans who may be there just to do business. But because of the fact that they will acquire more wealth and power, they're going to be easy targets to go in and say, all the problems, you're poor, you're struggling, is because of these Black Americans who are showing up and they're stealing your jobs or something to that effect. And then all of it to rile up dissent or anger against those Black Americans, which would then give cover for what would end up being blatant persecution. Wait, Paul. The reason I know that that's how the series of events would happen is because not just in Africa, but all over the world, you see the same pattern repeatedly. Okay? And in your country, that's what happened to the Igbo. Now, did the Igbos play the role in this? Of course they did. They tried to do it. They shouldn't have done that.
Lou Major, you're going in and out. I don't know.
Yeah, your volume is going in and out.
I said I know what I'm saying. The reason I'm saying that I'm about this pattern that I just described is because we see the same pattern orchestrated by the same people all over the world, and no different in Africa being no different. And I also know that this type of thing would happen because look, in your country, Nigeria, that's what happened to the Igbos. Now, of course, I want to make this clear. The Igbos definitely did wrong. They when the persecution started, they went ahead and tried to do a coup, bad move, and then they started a war, bad move again. But what sparked all of it was the Igbos went all around Nigeria, and they just took over all the industries. They started to become very, very rich. And specifically the northern Nigerians got jealous and started saying these guys are trying to take over. We need to limit them. Started putting legislation in place to limit them. And then they
To Niger, please come in.
I think the point here is that it depends on how things are done. Because most like, you know, what you are saying, Lou Major, about, you know, taking over those industries, they are the right things, and I think anyone will welcome them. But they don't want to see somebody that looks like them take over the industry and treat them like people are like serfs, and those people feel like they are better than them. What I mean by that is, we have Dangote in Nigeria right now. He's rich, and who is chasing him and saying, no, he's not one of us. So you have to look at the people that are there. When you return to Africa, you want to be one of them. If you start seeing yourself as different and like you're coming to save them, then you are not seeing yourself as one of them.
Absolutely.
That is the important thing here, because if you want them to treat you like one of them, then you want to be like one of them. See, you approach it from that point of view. If you see from that point of view, I think you will not even have any argument with Paul at all.
Yeah, that's the Ubuntu
thing. Okay, but here's
let me ask you a quick question.
It's all yours. To Niger, the reason I'm concerned, now here's my concern, because I've this whole time just been pretty much addressing Paul's concerns. Because when we go back to your country, Nigeria, okay, or our country, whatever way you want to describe it, right? The Igbos were Nigerian. They were just like, but they got really rich really fast, and the northern House of Fulani got jealous of them, and since they had the control of the government, what did they do to the Igbos? They began to actively persecute them. Now, I'm not saying the Igbos were perfect. They tried to orchestrate a coup. That was a bad decision. But what I'm trying to get you to understand,
you have gone twice into the
Nigerian thing.
You have gone twice into the Nigerian thing. So I'll clarify for anybody that doesn't know much about this. What triggered the issue in Nigeria didn't have anything to do with the Igbos being rich. The Yorubas were also rich. It was a coup that took place, and the people that orchestrated the coup killed a certain type of people. They didn't kill others. So it's like you orchestrate the coup and say you want to save everybody, but you left your own people alive. And then when the next guy that came over that is from your tribe came in, he didn't take the actions he was supposed to take quickly enough when the northerners were already becoming paranoid. By the time the white people left Nigeria, there were 800 and something schools in the southern part of Nigeria, and there were 30 something in the north. The gap between them was too much, and those people were already paranoid for a coup like that to happen. And I think the people got complacent, and they started feeling like, you know, anybody, they can do whatever they like and get away with it. And then they were brought down. And in a way, that is a cautionary tale for what we are discussing today. We have to be careful when we look down on people, because it comes back to bite us. The same thing has happened in Liberia. We have to see ourselves, really see ourselves, and set differences aside, because all this talk is not going to save us. What is going to save us is we set all these things aside and focus for at least 20 years.
No, Tanaji, you have to understand that we are in agreement. For me, my biggest concern, because there is certain inevitabilities here. I know that I don't know if it'll be 10 million blacks, but I do believe that there's probably going to be between 2 to 3 million black exodus. Maybe not all from America, but around the black world, because things are becoming dangerous. And while most black people in, say, the United States will not move because of, you know, various reasons, there are a decent number who will leave. It's only a matter of time. And what I study these things because it's part of understanding things in terms of investments, et cetera, et cetera. And so there are certain patterns here. And those patterns are, for example, those guys are going to show up. They're going to have more education. They're going to have more skills. They're going to have more experience than the populace. And they are going to generate wealth. What comes with wealth is power. Eventually, they'll start to use that power to benefit themselves like anybody else would. And then that's going to create some resentment. Now, if it's left alone to itself, it really won't boil over into anything. However, interested external parties, in this case, we're talking about white people, are going to then stoke
And create a wedge.
that resentment, and
That's
then
my whole
use
point.
that. Huh?
And they're going to create a wedge because there are cracks in the foundation there, and that's my whole point.
Right. And so what I'm trying to figure out is, it would be ridiculous to say, okay, we're going to limit the what African Americans can and cannot do. I don't think that helps anything, because that means African Americans leave one oppression to go to another.
Lou Major, you generalizing and you sensationalizing this.
No, I'm not saying you're saying that, Paul, but I am saying that a lot of people who are in or around your camp, okay, would actually advocate for that. So never allow them to have too much power. I'm dead serious.
I think, as I said before, that's why I use the word structured, because you don't get anywhere with just using words like, it's words that start wars, and words can end wars. They're very powerful. They determine the way that people will go. They determine the future of a nation. So when we use words like take over, do you know what takeover means? That means someone's losing. And who's losing? You're talking about the locals? They're going to lose somewhere where they were born, and many of them, their forefathers died protecting that land. So it's all these things you have to take into concern. Structured. I use the word structured. So we playing games here. If we're just saying, let's just get up and go to Africa, then that's doing it willy-nilly. We're leaving everything to chance, and anything can happen. But if you take a step back, and I'm saying, advocating a lot, like especially in Black America, to have centers opened here to teach people and give them understanding, so that when they're moving back, they understand where they fall and how to operate and how to build together and how to do things constructively, so that there are no schisms and isms here and there, where other people who have nefarious intents can come in and very easily. It pains me and it irks me when people can so easily, and it's happened so much in Africa, can so come in and so easily manipulate people to do things that are detrimental to their own well-being. So all I'm saying is balance and structured, because as we say, cliche, with much power comes much responsibility. But are African Americans ready to wield that responsibility in a responsible manner? Because they will have power. They will have power when they get to the continent. Are you going to do what is right by the people you meet there, and for the future of your children that you'll have on the continent? That'll be Africans, really, in every sense of the word.
Let me add something, and I think maybe this we may be overstating.
I'm sorry for cutting you off. I'll just drop out right now, guys. Thanks very much to Nija and Lou Major.
All right, well done. I think we may actually be overstating the influence the African Americans are going to wield over this in Africa, because if you remember, Liberia is a small country. Sierra Leone is a small country. We are talking about a continent of about 1 billion people. I think there is more than enough space to absorb the African Americans, and without even raising any kind of resentment issues, especially if they are dispersed, and they are dispersed from the point of view of their genetic lineage. So they will be returning home, basically. And when they return home, people are allowed to be rich, aren't they? So we have to see it from that point of view. People are allowed to be rich. There are rich people in Nigeria today. There are elites in Nigeria today. So it's not new. It's the elites everywhere. So I don't see why African Americans can't come in and be as wealthy as anyone else. The point is, you have to always keep in mind that you are amongst your people, and once that is the case, you don't kind of carve yourself off away from the people. Then you wouldn't have it. See, I think that is the key. You have to return back to your lineage. You don't just want to carve and become American community and say, oh, we want to hold on to ourselves and be different from everyone else and wield power over the others. And I think that's going to come across, and that will be easier for, it's going to come across as the way the locals saw the Liberians from the US when they came back. So I think so if we can avoid those type of pitfalls and do things to, avoid these traps that lead to division. And, because it's very, very easy to divide people. And in Africa, we have been divided for a very long time. And so far, we have been doing very well to try to, have all these conversations and get all these things out there. And, it is what it is. That's the only reason why I came on. I just thought, okay, let me just make this clear that you have to become one of us. If you don't become one of us.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I just wanted, for me, again, I'm in agreement. But for me, I'm 100% all about repatriation. At the same time, look, the reality is you're going to get certain types of African Americans who are going to come. You're going to get, I'll call them the Art Caffey types, who will look at some of the weaknesses that some of the locals have and will, I don't know, maybe get frustrated. And because it is frustrating, and maybe voice it in the wrong way. And then you're going to also get people on the other side who are going to be fearful of being, as you put it, a takeover when they see this group of people kind of show up that looks like them, by the way, in accumulating massive amounts of wealth and power on their land. And so it becomes a palpable situation ripe for exploitation by outside forces. And so when I saw Paul got on, I saw it as an opportunity because that's a discussion that we actually have to have. Because we have to be prepared for the reality of what's going to come. And here's the deal. I want to make this specific, make this clear. This is not like a African thing. This is not every race of people are like that. If you have Latinos, we'll use Latinos who were born and raised in America, who go back to Latin American countries, and they of course acquire lots of wealth and power because they're more advanced than the locals. The locals have resentment for them. The only difference is the America likes those Latinos to take over because those are the people they want in power. The difference with Black Americans, they know that Black Americans are going to be coming there to escape persecution and are going to be resentful of the American state. And so there's going to be incentive to create division. And so we have to be aware of how our enemy is going to attack us, and we have to be prepared for it. Because, whether Paul said it or didn't say it to the extreme of some, there are a lot of Africans in Africa, not the normal, typical, everyday Africans. You're going to be very happy with African. I'm talking about maybe upper class Africans who are going to be, who totally would believe in the idea of, okay, well, they can come, but we got to limit how much power they can. They could come, but they can't do this, they can't do that, because of a fear of a loss of power for them. So
that's
we have
true. That is true. I think they will, that's what elites do, don't they? You know how they roll now. They don't like competition, and Amazon does that and all the rest. This is what they do.
So that's what so I know, listen, people, I know what I'm talking about. That's what I'm trying to say. So the reality is, when somebody like Paul comes, we have to have that conversation, because Paul is highly educated. He would, I don't know if we want to call him an elite, but if he went back to Sierra Leone, he would be amongst the elites. He's educated in the West, probably has some money. He would be one of the elites. And he may not be as hardliner or far right, but I could tell you that there are a lot of people who would be in that elite class who would be, as soon as African Americans or really diasporans started to accumulate a certain amount of wealth, and what comes with wealth is power, who would be for the persecution of them, because it would be a threat to their wealth and power. So
I really don't think
we'll
so.
figure out.
I really don't think so. You are assuming that African Americans are just going to go to one country and
No,
overwhelm.
I think that you're gonna have you listen. I don't. I'm not gonna say that I know African Americans, but there are certain things that African Americans kind of do, and most likely, what's gonna happen is they would kind of pocket in particular countries. I can tell you which ones they are right now: Gambia, Rwanda, Ghana, South Africa, Tanzania. And it's a little bit of Nigeria. They're gonna pretty much pocket in those areas because that's kind of what I mean. They're the same. That's how African Americans are in the United States, right? They pretty much hang out in like 10 states.
Yeah.
They're not like a dispersing type of people. They kind of do what everybody else is doing. So if everybody's going to Ghana, they're gonna all go to Ghana. So if everybody's going to South Africa, or they're gonna go with whatever is most comfortable or familiar to them. So South Africa is familiar to African Americans, so they're gonna go there. Well, so that they're not that unpredictable.
So then, what do you think we should do? What do you recommend that should be done then?
Populace spread out throughout Africa. You're gonna have big pockets of them in specific countries.
So, from my point of view, I think we should just quash all beefs for 20 years. But if I should ask, if I may ask, what would you recommend be done to mitigate this type of situation from arising, where they exploit the divisions that arise or envy to cause division and cause the kind of stuff that happened in Liberia? How do you mitigate it?
I know that this is going to sound bad, but okay, so the people who are currently elites, okay, I'm going to use Nigeria. The people who are elites in Nigeria, an overwhelming majority of them, not all of them, but an overwhelming majority of them are in the elite class. And what do? You know what? You know it. Go ahead, say it.
I'm not sure what you want me to say.
The government, right? Yeah. Most people who are rich in Africa, but Nigeria is a slight exception, but not, are in the government. And how do they get rich from the government? Well, corruption and really selling out their people, right? And so, I mean, there might be a need to remove the current elite class that is benefiting from the exploitation of their own people. There might actually be a need to remove those people.
And what if you can't do that? Is there any other way to do it? Because that may not happen.
It's not. It wouldn't be that hard. They're rich, but not smart. But what I would say is, if they're not removed, then conflict would be inevitable. Because the reason for that is those people are going to feel threatened by a more advanced group of people who, by the way, look like them, gaining power and influence that is going to weaken their power. And when your power comes from the exploitation and the corruption and the theft of resources of your people, well, that's how you accumulate wealth and power. Any group that comes along that accumulates wealth and power another way is a direct threat to you. Because what I can also tell you is the African Americans would also the mindset of the populace. They start educating Africans on how they actually are. They would start building these schools that are more Afrocentric. The country would change. The populace would change over time due to their influence. That's a direct threat to the current structure that exists.
Your audio is fading in and out, but one thing I can say to that is that the way Nigerians operate is that I agree that you have people that have corrupt intentions and do corrupt practices and all that, but there are a sizable significant numbers now that are coming through that are doing the right things, that are beginning to operate more like conventional Democrats. So they go out there and they look for investment. They try to do all the right things for their people. And you can say whatever you like about the way Nigerians run their own things, but if you look at Nigeria, the way their reputation is, you would think Nigerians we owe a lot of money, we are in debt and all the rest of it. Nigeria is one of the least indebted countries in the world because of the way the leaders run the country. So if they've done so badly of everything with everything else, they've made Nigeria very, very viable in terms of financially when Nigeria gets its act together. So from that point of view, they are not all stupid. They have very, very intelligent people. There's a reason why Nigerian banks are taking over so many banking institutions all around Africa, because some of them are very good at what they do. So, and I believe if African Americans come in, Nigeria is made up of 200 million. Nigeria alone is 200 million people. We can even absorb all the African Americans, and it's not going to make too much of a dent. All you are going to see is investment, buildings, everything go up and all the rest of it. Not to mention the whole Africa. It's 1 billion people. So I don't see some of the things you are saying. I understand where you're coming from, and you say that they're going to cluster around certain areas. I believe there are ways you can do it. You can do it so that whenever an African American wants to set up a business, they are linked with other local people. There are rules. Wise people to come together and say, okay, these are ways you can do these things to mitigate, because we know what has happened before. If we don't learn from it, then it's on us. So I think the people that are going to be in place now will be wiser. They will put things in place to say, okay, if you want to come and do business here, this is how you should do it, so that we forestall some of all those regrets that we have. You see what I mean? So it sounds like if things are very, very bad, but I think there are wise heads coming through in Africa right now, because we've had quite a long period of peace in most African countries, and democracy too. So you will start seeing them come through. In Nigeria, Nigeria has a lot of problems, but from what I'm seeing, there are signs. They overruled a governorship election. A governor is in his office for months, and the judge overruled it, and the country didn't go crazy. So it's not all about corruption in Nigeria. If that was another country, in the US, can you imagine a governorship election being cancelled by the court? That happened in Nigeria, and it went without a hitch. So things are improving. All we need now is a leader that gives the nation, some kind of a marching order and has a direction with this thing.
You ain't gonna get that from the north, but anyway. Look, I gotta go, but I appreciate the conversation. Okay. It was really good talking, but hey, I'm actually happy the conversation happened, and I feel like it was fruitful. I really do. But I personally have to drop off now, but it was a really fruitful conversation. Thanks.
Where is Diana's? Diana's, your mic is muted. Okay, I might as well just go ahead and keep talking about these issues. So I guess the reason why I came on today was just to make clear that words do matter. We cannot just be using divisive terms to address this in ourselves. And if we just, do things in a way that bring people together, I think things will improve in on the continent without making the mistakes of what happened in Liberia. So it's just a very, very simple idea, and we should just keep that in mind whenever we approach each other, because words matter. We can't be talking about taking over people, and the people are dirty, and the people are all kinds of terms that you hear people using. Because it alienates people. It puts people away from you, and they don't want to talk to you. And then where would we be? It's not going to do us all any good. And I want my African American brothers and sisters to return to the continent, and it's been long time overdue. And the things that are happening, and the fact that I'm even talking here is quite surreal. So we should take heart with in that we are at least talking, and for better or for worse, we are talking. What else can you ask for? Where is Dinas? Has he gone to sleep or something? Anyone know where Dinas is gone to? No,
Yeah,
I don't have. I don't
I guess
have.
the show's over. Yeah, my bad. I'm sitting there with my guy. He's
Yeah.
just calling my security system. Sorry about that. But
Yeah.
everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like,
Yeah,
share,
someone
subscribe.
was asking whether I had a tribal mark. Just in case, I don't have a tribal mark. Sorry, but it is what it is.
All right, no problem. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Go to dynastymirror.com. Until next time, family. Dynasty Mirror, search for Huru. Peace. Yeah.